Sorry about that, guys. Had some technical difficulties.
Yeah, we had to restart Nathaniel, reboot him, make sure he was plugged in.
Yeah,
We're all good now.
yeah. I'm barely functional.
Alrighty. You guys can get started. Okay.
All right, so it looks like Chucky's on a mold of 5, if I can
Down
see
to 5,
correctly.
4, fewer than 7 cards.
Yeah, that's
down to 5.
his hand looks fine though for a 5-card hand, from what I can tell.
So, we need to update a few of the assets, so just bear with us. There we go. So we didn't really get a chance to talk about it too much due to us needing to restart, but so for anybody unfamiliar, Counters Company usually uses Vizier Remedies alongside Devoted Druid to make essentially infinite mana.
Yeah.
You activate the ability by putting -1/-1 counter on it. Since it's a replacement effect, it doesn't put the -1/-1 counter on it. You make any amount of green mana. From there, you have Dustwatch Recruiter, which has 2 and a green. You look at the top 3 cards of your library. You can reveal a creature card, put it into your hand, put the others on the bottom.
Yep.
And you dig until you get to a Walking Ballista.
Yep.
And you cast that for a very large amount and kill your opponent.
Yep. It's kind of what that's been around in format for a while. It became popular after Vizier was printed, and everyone's. It's no longer as big as it used to be because the deck is a bit glass cannony. It doesn't have the value game as strong as the other company decks do, but it still has some play to it.
It basically replaced the Melira slash. I'm trying to remember the bolster creature.
Melira and Anafenza.
Yeah.
Yeah, replace that just because Melira is just not that great, and the combo itself required 3 cards, whereas this requires 2 cards. I'm like, you don't necessarily need to have the your werewolf or your ballista. You can just value off with like Collect Company or whatever, Eternal Witnesses, and get some value off of the infinite mana.
Yeah, Vizier is also a lot easier to cast than Anafenza is.
Yep.
But you are still able to do the Kitchen Finks combo, which you sack Kitchen Finks to your Viserys Seer, and Persist comes back, doesn't have the -1/-1 counter. All right. So Connor has pretty commanding board position here. He's got some pressure on Chucky. He does not have access to his Horizon Canopy anymore, but Connor has both lands in his hand and Noble Hierarch to help him with fixing. So he's not too worried there. The big thing that Connor's wanting to avoid here is a Supreme Verdict. That would be very untimely for him. And force him to have to completely rebuild. Now, it's possible he's just overcommitting right now.
I mean, so the only, like, the threats he have on board doesn't feel necessarily like he's overcommitting. The birds, it's questionable if you need to deploy the bird plus the second Devoted Druid, or the first Devoted Druid, I should say. But
that was the second one. The first one.
Okay.
I believe it got pathed.
It got.
He put negative counters on it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he killed his Devoted Druid with -1/-1 counters. But yeah, there's that Supreme Verdict we were talking about.
That kind of makes up for the fact that Chucky Mulligan is such a low amount because he just answered so many cards from Connor's side with 1 card.
So Connor now has to dig for something like a Collected Company to be able to get back into this game.
Yep, plays a Vizier, gets countered. And now they're just going to be playing Drago for a little bit, and I think from this point, the game doesn't feel great from Connor's side.
No, it does not. Like, I believe Chucky has a Path to Exile. He also has a Cryptic Command, I believe, to allow him just to get a little bit more of an edge.
Yep. So, Chucky Path to Exile, Connor's Walking Ballista. Connor dealt 1 damage to Chucky, then let get exiled to get a land from his deck. Then Chucky used the Field of Ruin to destroy one of Connor's lands, the Temple Garden, to get a basic land from each player's deck.
All right. By the way, if you're just joining us, we're playing some Modern tonight. We normally start 7:30 every Tuesday.
Yep.
Though this week is Modern, next week we're going to try some Standard with Dominaria cards.
Yep.
We're going to get the full spoiler this Friday and try out some interesting decks.
Yeah.
See what we can brew up.
From what I can tell, it looks like there's going to be an interesting Standard format. You're still going to have to deal with some of the issues of the past sets being legal. There are some very powerful cards in those sets, but I think that there are going to be at least a few cards are going to shine through, even with all of that in mind.
I think it's going to put a very interesting deck constraint on people with all these legendaries.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to want to play 4 of each of them. You're going to want something like 2.
Yep.
Maybe if it's good enough, 3, but you might have some of those awkward draws where one of them is just stuck in your hand.
Yeah, the amount of legendaries definitely can lead to some interesting deck building decisions, as you said, and get to see more interesting effects in the Standard format.
All right. So Connor's starting to rebuild. He has a Duskwatch Recruiter that he's going to be able to activate at the end of Chucky's turn to get him another creature, hopefully. But I don't know. Chucky is way ahead on, not necessarily board presence, but he's in control of this game.
Yeah. The amount of card advantage that Connor can gain off of this Recruiter is pretty high. So there's a possibility that Chucky is able to fall back behind because of that, but right now it does feel like Connor's pretty far behind as he doesn't really have a ton going on.
Now Connor did just draw a Collected Company, so that is a way for him to get back in this game.
Yeah. Collected Company, just a really good value card in this, well, any type of matchup really.
Chucky's also being very patient with his Crypto Command.
Yeah.
I thought he might have just tried to shoot it off against this kitchen thing, so it looks like he's waiting to be able to use a Supreme Verdict on his next turn.
Yep.
Alright, we're over to Chucky. Gonna take a look at that top card. It's good old Jace. Gonna put it in the hand.
Yep, Jace always feels pretty good when there is not a ton going on, and there are a few creatures on the board, so he's probably not going to windmill slam this Jace, but if he's able to answer the board and then play the Jace, it's going to start going in his favor very quickly.
I think Chucky's trying to dig for a land here. He opted not to Verdict this turn. It looks like he's just going to go ahead and wait so he can use his Cryptic Command.
Yep.
But yeah, Connor is using that Duskwatch Recruiter to really start to get back in this game.
Yep.
He's already gotten 2 activations off of it. And
and he's most likely going to get another activation off this upcoming turn cycle, and that's just providing him such a good flow of constant threats. And the longer the Chucky leaves unchecked, the worse it is for him in this game.
Now, it might be smart for Connor to not really commit too much, and a little surprised he's not swinging in with the kitchen things here. Just keep putting pressure on Chucky.
So I feel like he's maybe a little too put off by the fact that he's seeing the Settle the Wreckage and Chucky's side. But at the same time, even though you know that the person is playing Settle the Wreckage, just attacking every turn, because if Chucky has a single Path Exile, which is more likely than the Settle the Wreckage, then you're not attacking for anything. And that just doesn't feel great. You do need to pressure him somehow.
All right, so Chucky decided that he is going to counter this Devoted Druid. Now, it looks like he's targeting something to bounce it instead of drawing a card. Maybe to get Connor off of Collected Company mana, but no. Connor has the bird, so he still has 5 mana, so that doesn't matter there.
He might be targeting the Recruiter, which would mean that it's forcing Connor to activate it now if he wants to, or to recast, in which case he can't play. Well, he can't activate it.
I don't really like that play since Chucky's going to be Supreme Verdicting next turn. Well, so we assume.
Yeah.
This seems a little aggressive. I guess Connor is trying to... I'm not sure what he's trying to do here.
I'm not entirely certain either.
Yeah, I agree. Shelrima, like, Oh, so he's going for infinite mana. Ooh. So Connor was trying to just go infinite life with Cord plus what he got off Collected Company, but unfortunately it looks like he may have miscalculated because Devoted Druid isn't on the field yet.
Yep.
It is still on the stack. So he's only able to cord for 1. Yeah, and Connor knows he messed up, and this is really going to punish him.
Yep. All right, so Chucky thought a little bit about whether or not he wanted to keep the Snapcast range, decided not to.
Yeah, he really wants that land drop so he can Supreme Verdict and be able to keep mana up. Likely for Jace.
Yeah.
Jace on an empty board does work.
Jace on
it's also
on a
unbeatable.
mostly empty board.
Jace is just unbeatable. Remember this.
Yeah.
Like it was very clearly stated when he was unbanned.
All right, so one thing that's weird from Connor's side is he chose to sacrifice the Kitchen Finks in response.
Instead of keeping some pressure on the board.
Yeah.
Looks like he's probably digging for another Collected Company to quickly rebuild his board.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think that keeping it, like, I don't think the one additional scry you get off is worth losing the little bit of power you would have.
Yeah, it probably would have been correct to sack the other creatures first.
Yep.
And then if you're left in the position where it's like, oh, hey, I still haven't found it, maybe then sack the Kitchen Finks.
Yep.
And whatever Connor wanted on top, Chucky was like, nope, that is going to the bottom.
Yep.
You made a mistake. You meant to scry that to the bottom.
All right. So we are going to get to see Collect Company here. Might be able to help out Connor a little bit, but it's even if it hits good targets, it's not going to do a ton.
And Connor is able to pull off the Infinite Life combo. Being able to hit both Finks and Vizier, and he had the cord in his hand, as we saw.
So he does have the Infinite Life, but Chucky can still win.
So there we go. We're just going to pretend those are on their side.
Yep.
But Connor is essentially at an infinite life total.
Have fun with it.
We need to get a thing to be able to type it.
Can we just go back to 8 and then rotate it 90 degrees?
We can try that. All right. So Corey found a way to entertain himself here.
So Chucky is now left with trying to Jace Ultimate to finish this game.
I mean,
it's not going to be too easy since Connor is able to scry his deck right now.
He is able to scry his deck, and the Fate Seal doesn't matter a ton because he can just do it instant speed, provided that Chucky doesn't have some type of answer to it on his turn.
Okay. For anybody not familiar with the shortcut, since Connor is able to scry 1 as many times as he wants, that's essentially like looking at the top card, and deciding, oh, hey, I don't want this, I can put it to the bottom, and then the next one, and then the next one. Then you do that through your whole deck at least once. And at that point, it's basically just like taking a portion of your deck and putting it on the bottom of the other side. So since you're able to show that you're able to scry the whole deck, the easy shortcut is just looking at the whole deck, deciding where you want to cut it, and cutting to that, putting the card you want on top. It is much, much faster than 1, 1, 1.
Yeah, and being able to shortcut something like that does help a lot because otherwise we'd be sitting here watching Connor flip through his deck for the next, like, 15 minutes.
All right. So Chucky is in the tank trying to figure out how he's going to deal with this board state. He's going to need to find a good answer for the board to keep his Jace alive. And then he's going to have to stay reactive to keep Connor from building up his board again. Okay, he's deciding to play his Gideon and Emblem so that he's not going to just instantly die to whatever Connor does,
Correct.
making it so Connor has to deal with his Gideon first. Next, Chucky is choosing to Fate Seal Connor, which doesn't do much since Connor can just re-scry the deck.
Yeah, it
So-
doesn't work out super well.
I like the idea of Chucky instead Fate Sealing himself.
Yeah, just targeting himself so that way he can have a little bit better idea of what's coming up for him. And
It lets him dig a little bit deeper with Escanta as well.
yep. All right, so Connor's gonna go through the entire process. All right, so he found something he liked, kept it.
Okay, so Eternal Witness is going to get back one of his pieces. Connor doesn't have infinite mana yet.
Correct.
So we grab Quarter Calling, and likely we'll see at the end of Chucky's turn, Connor deciding to hoard to go get Devoted Druid,
Mhm.
so that he then has the infinite mana that he needs.
Yep. Now, one thing that Chucky pointed out is that Connor cannot attack with the Kitchen Finks because Connor decided to do the Kitchen Finks loop on his upkeep.
Yeah, that might be the little bit of an edge that Chucky needs. Just like small little misplays that he can capitalize on.
Yep.
All right. So Chucky got another Gideon off his search for Ascanta. Chucky is still deciding to Fate Seal Connor for some reason. but-
I really don't like that. It feels really kind of silly almost, but here we are. I guess it kind of gives him a better idea of what exactly Connor might be looking for, except the fact that Connor hasn't done any scrying this time around, so...
I see that as an underused mode on Jace all the time.
Yeah,
being able to target yourself to essentially just get a scry 1
Mhm.
and make sure that your Jace lives through like a lightning bolt or gets closer to its ultimate.
Yeah.
It's no brainstorm,
Mhm.
but if the top card of your opponent's deck isn't really going to matter,
Yeah.
you're better off just targeting yourself.
Yeah. So now Chucky's gonna go and pop off this Gideon Jura, and he does have a Cellar Wreckage in his hand, which means he can create a forced board wipe from Connor's side.
Mhm.
Now Connor will be able to keep his Kitchen Finks,
Mhm.
but he will lose everything else on his board.
The only problem here is depending on what Connor grabs with his cord, followed by gets with his collected company,
Mhm.
like it might just be game over. Connor might have the pieces to just win with Walking Ballista here.
Yep. And we know that he does have the 2-drop in his hand, which will allow him to pick up his deck and win the game.
In case you're just tuning in, Connor is at a very, very large life total.
Yep. They keep changing it. They're having fun with it.
They're slowly getting up there as they have a little bit of idle time.
I know. I'm pretty sure I know where it's going, but I don't think that we're gonna get that far.
Okay. So Connor now has essentially an infinite number of mana.
Yep.
He's able to keep going through his deck with Duskwatch Recruiter to go get a Walking Ballista.
Yep. And we can see from Chucky's side, he only has an Azorius Charm, a Serum Visions, and a Cellar Wreckage in his hand. So we know this game is over.
Mhm. And he's digging, and he's digging. Most of these decks only play one Walking Ballista, so it is essentially, hey, you need to just search the whole deck for it. The Walking Ballista isn't very good in most cases, so the deck doesn't want to play more than one. It just wants to have it as the way to finally finish off the game.
Yep. So, I'm gonna go and go to sideboard games. Connor's life total will no longer be sideways 8. And to answer the question from chat is, that the reason that Finks is upside down is because Connor was doing that as a way of signifying that it was sacrificed this turn, so he can't attack with it.
Alrighty, so let's move on to sideboards. Do you want to take the blue-white control here?
Yeah, I'll take the blue-white control.
The blue player in the booth.
Yep. So I'm just going to do a quick little look through of what all is going on in the sideboard. Actually not super sure. You have a couple things in this matchup that are decent. Being as that the Counters Company deck really cares about its Collected Companies and its Court of Callings, the Dispels can certainly be brought in. The Runed Halo is good because it can shut off the wind through Walking Bliss, and sometimes it can just randomly get a Kitchen Finks or something that's putting on some pressure, and then another side of the wreckage is just another board wipe. And also in the meanwhile, Frodog, thank you for the follow. It's always great to have more people on the watch list.
Yep, thank you for joining us.
All right. As for what to cut, there's like not a ton of things are super bad. The Elspeth Sun Champion just feels very medium here. Though I could certainly see keeping him because if it resolves, you're probably winning the game.
So with Dispel, you said it was primarily for Collected Company.
Collected Company
and Court of Calling.
Court of Calling, correct.
Would you also be able to argue putting in Disdainful Stroke? Because
it does the same thing.
It's the same ones. It is one mana more.
So at that point, it would probably go.
It's essentially a negate that might hit a Walking Ballista from time to time.
Yeah, it would go in order of Dispel. Well, the negate and main board I would leave. Then bring in Dispel, then the other negate, and then if you still want to bring in more counter spells, the Disdainful Stroke could be brought in because you do have the hits that you have with the spell, as well as, like you said, an occasional Walking Ballista.
Okay. Over on Connor's side, I really like the 2 Voice Resurgence. We're playing against a reactive deck, so making it so they're Connor gets a free guy if Chucky tries to counter anything. Seems pretty good. I like the Scavenging Ooze. Chucky is playing Snapcaster Mage and Search for Escanta, but more so for the former, being able to get rid of some targets that Snapcaster might try to hit. You don't want strong graveyard hate against Chucky's deck, but kind of that incidental graveyard hate
having
is
a little
nice.
incidental graveyard hate plus a good creature in its own.
It's a body. You eat a couple creatures from your own graveyard, and it gets big. Also, really like the Sin Collector. Like, this is the matchup for Sin Collector. There are a bunch of targets in Chucky's deck to be able to hit.
And being 3 mana lines up really well against a lot of things you want to hit, because a lot of the good cards from Chucky's side do cost 4 mana in the form of Cryptic Command, Supreme Verdict, Salt of the Wreckage, depending on the situation.
So in this matchup, I kind of like the idea of cutting down a little bit on the combo and trying to play more of just a mid-range match against control. I could see trimming of the Searseer, probably trimming 1 or 2 Viziers. In the case that you can combo, like if they give you an opening, you want to be able to do so, but you don't want it to necessarily be a natural draw. Like the Searseer is not good by itself. So I can see cutting a Ballista, of the Searseer, and probably 2 of the Viziers. Everything else seems good.
Yeah, I really like cutting the 1 of the 2 Ballista because you don't realistically need both of them in this matchup.
Okay. And we're off to the races. Chucky starts with a Serum Visions, and Connor with his Mana Dork.
Yep, that's about what you expect in this matchup a lot of times. And Chucky going and throwing down a Rest in Peace, it's a card that I personally am not like a huge fan of in this matchup. I think it's just not impactful enough.
It only shuts off the Kitchen Finks in this matchup, and Eternal Witness.
It only shuts off Eternal Witnesses and Kitchen Finks, and it's like, I think that having access to your 2 Snapcaster Mages is slightly more important, and you don't honestly care that much about those 2 things, because you only have 2 ways to destroy a Kitchen Finks, and a lot of times you can keep them from comboing off.
So I'd actually say, at least going into Game 3, knowing that Chucky brought in Rest in Peace, maybe instead of the second Scavenging Ooze, you bring in the Pride Mage, so you can cord for it if needed. To be able to deal with that and get more value off of. And get more value off your Kitchen Finks. All right, so seems like Connor has his Viserys here. As we were talking about, the card's not great in this matchup. So I'm curious if he did decide to cut down up. And also the Walking Ballista, the other one. We're like, oh, hey, we should cut down on these a bit. So I'm curious if it is just the one-ofs.
Yeah. And if it is, then that's pretty neat from his side.
Yeah.
And he's just
a little unlucky, but who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe the Collected Company hits something good, and he's able to just combo off right here.
So it hits fine things, but it doesn't just hit anything that can win him the game. Because if he hit the Viserys here, he would just win the game here.
Mm-hmm. Or the Vizier of Remedies, because he has the Seer in his hand.
Sorry, I meant to say Vizier of Remedies, but eh.
Shelrone mentions that shutting off E-Wit can be pretty important, and yeah, I think we both can agree to that.
Like it is important, and I definitely am not saying that what my opinion is correct. It's like the most correct way. I just personally wouldn't bring it in, but I could see certainly the logic for it.
So it's kind of part of the debate of what type of graveyard hate you want in certain matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think Relic against this deck, depending on what deck you have, what you have on your sideboard. Relic is better against Counters Company instead of Rest in Peace, because it's able to deal with some of the problematic cards. You can pop it when you need it, but if it's completely worthless for the matchup,
then you can just pick
go
up
ahead and pop it, and it's a cantrip.
Yeah.
Having access to white, you typically want to run Rest in Peace in your sideboard. Like it's just the de facto. I do not want to lose to these graveyard decks.
Yeah, it's also one of those things where I'm also a little bit. I don't sideboard it in Rest in Peace as much as some other people do, just because I only really like bringing it in the matchups. I think that it's really impactful when it hits the board. So like against like other control decks, I won't bring it in. But like against Grixis Shadow, when that was popular, you bring it in because it cuts off the delve threats. You bring it in against obviously Dredge, things like that, because it's actually really impactful. This is one of those matchups where it's like it can be good, but you can live without it.
Yeah, Cage is ideally what you want here if you're running that, because it also shuts off the Cord and Collected Company.
Cage shuts off a lot of cards. It doesn't shut off the Eternal Witness, but it does shut off a good amount of counter stack.
Yeah, it also shuts off the Kitchen Finks coming back.
Yep.
All right, so Chucky hasn't really dealt with Connor's board yet.
No, he hasn't dealt with really anything that's going on.
Yeah.
And he has a Mana Leak in hand that's looking kind of silly against Connor's like near infinite amount of mana. Actual infinite amount of mana.
Yeah, and Connor has a backup copy of Vizier as well. The only problem right now is his Dustwatch flipped. So he won't be able to dig for his win con, but as we saw earlier, he does have a Walking Ballista in his hand already.
Yep.
So as long as this sticks, Connor has the game.
Correct.
Connor.
Oh.
Okay.
All right, well.
Our match tracker was a little bit off. Connor had won game 1. We're actually in game 2 right now.
And so that was the match for Connor's side.
Yes.
So I'm going to go ahead and try to get all this cracked it, and I'll let you do what you do in the booth.
Okay. Just talk to myself.
Yeah.
It's a common occurrence. All right. Oh. Haha, you can't escape me.
Not gonna lie, I was probably just gonna go over to the computer, look at everything, go, yeah, that's a computer.
Yeah.
And then wait for Core to come down anyways.
I know how to change a few numbers on there, but that's about it. It's
switched a couple times, and I haven't got super familiar with it. I was familiar with it before the new changes to the setup, but now I'm just like, I have no idea what I'm doing.
We just keep adding new fun things.
Yep.
We also hope that they've been very helpful for better visuals.
Yeah, I think the visuals have gotten a lot better. Speaking of visuals, now we got Ryan versus Connor. We got the two Obs on decks battling out, one being completely, well, both of them being completely different than the other. One's a combo deck, one's basically Jund with white. So we're going to have a little bit of mid-range versus combo. which will be neat to watch.
Yeah. So
And
now we get to see Connor's deck. I know we missed that last time because of the technical difficulties.
Yep.
But he is playing 2 of each of the combo pieces with Viscera Seer and Walking Ballista, just so he has a backup of each.
Yep.
Since this version is much lighter on any black cards, I know some run like Tide Hollow Sculler or the like main board.
Yeah.
That frees up a few slots for him, so having a little bit more redundancy with his combo gives him a better opportunity to combo off.
Yep. And he does have the 1 Voice of Resurgence main board, which is a core, can be a decent core target. He also has the 1 Scavenging Goose main board. And then post board, he has 4 Paths, some Abrupt Decays, some Firewalker. His sideboard just kind of a little mixed bag of stuff. And from Ryan's side, like I said, completely different deck. He has a lot of things that are good in this matchup. A variety of removal spells. 4 discard spells, it looks like. No, 5, because 2 Thoughtseizes.
I'm just sad there's no Bloodbraid. Like, I know it's Abzan, but come on. Like, it's Bloodbraid Elf.
There's no Bloodbraid, but you do get one, a 4-drop I'm a huge fan of in this format, even though I don't think it's as good as it has been in the past, in the form of Cletus. And this is a matchup where Cletus really is a powerful card.
I thought you were going to say Siege Rhino.
No.
I 100% thought you were going to say Siege Rhino.
So, I've told these stories before, but during Khans of Tarkir Standard, I was like judging a lot, and I hated Siege Rhino so much because both decks would be playing it, and just 100% both decks are playing it. And it's a 4/5. Everything from Khans of Tarkir block, well, everything from Khans of Tarkir has more toughness than power, which means combat is just awful, dude. No one attacks. It's always time.
I remember playing Sidisi Whip back then with Whip Erebos. You would have the Sultai Sidisi to be able to mill yourself, bring that back, get some zombies. And then that evolved into a 4-color Whip deck that was running Siege Rhino. So you know what's better than 4 Siege Rhinos? 8 Siege Rhinos.
Siege Rhino is just, I've never been a huge fan of the card.
Oh, and bees.
And,
bees!
I hated that card so much. I just hated that entire format because you're just like board stalls format.
If you ever want to see Sean French cringe, there was a GPT that we had at the store where it was essentially 3 whip decks and in the top 4. And one of the matches just kept going on to the end. It's like, I'll make bees. No, I'll make bees. Oh, I'll kill your Hornet Queen. Okay, I'll whip it back. More bees.
Yeah, that card. I've had so many times where I would just like go over to an event and just say, all right, while we in time, look over, just both players have out some bees, and it's like, yeah, sure.
Okay, so let's move on to the match.
It looks like
you guys can get started.
Looks like Ryan's just now getting to sit down. And Connor, of course, still situated from his last match.
Bring to Rhino. There was a bit of a Bring to Light deck that searched up Siege Rhino, because, come on. Like,
yeah.
I've also seen Siege Rhino with Clever Impersonator.
There were a lot of things. Siege Rhino was the picture of that standard. The cover. What's the name of it? Cover boy, or whatever it's called.
The what?
Poster boy. There's a word for it. Someone help me out.
Poster child.
Poster child. Sure, that one.
Okay.
I tried.
No, I didn't know what you were talking about. So.
Okay. That's fair. I was just kind of rambling on, hoping everyone understood it. No one ever understands it. It's fine though. So, have they rolled yet? I bet they have.
No. They're working on it. Don't worry, we'll miss the roll again. No, look away. Stop it. We're not supposed to know who goes first. It's tradition.
That's fair. But I did look that time in Ryan.
Speaking of multiple rhinos, something I've noticed in a lot of deck building is there are so many times where if you could have a 5th card of something that is already good in a 4 of, that would actually be more ideal than having a 6th. Like, you'll notice a lot of decks that, most recently I was playing Blue Green Eldrazi, where it has the Oath of Nissa as the 5th Ancient Stirrings.
Yeah.
I've just noticed this from time to time, like, if we were allowed 5 of cards, I think we would just see tons of that.
Yeah.
of course, like you always want whatever the best cards are in your deck. Like more is better. But if we're just given standard with like, oh yeah, you can have up to 8 copies of any one card. Outside of lands, I think you would actually see a lot of 5-ofs.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Like
otherwise, you just have too much redundancy.
There is a
filling
point,
up certain like CMCs.
there is a point that too much redundancy can be a bad thing. Say the problem there is though then you have like the combo decks that take full advantage of that because they just want their full redundancy.
But we don't see too much of that in standard.
In standard now.
So it looks like Ryan mulled down to 6. Does he have a second land?
He does not. He's going down to on a mulled 5, and I believe this is how the last match started for Connor as well.
Connor is at a full grip. I'm happy to see Connor on a very consistent deck this week.
Yep.
I know that Heartless deck has not been kind to him on camera.
Yep, playing something that's a little bit closer to a real Modern deck this time around. Doesn't lose to itself quite as often, and has more of a game plan that can be enacted early enough to matter.
And we also saw last match, like, he kind of overextended on the board, but the deck had the reach that he was able to dig back. Just Dustwatch Recruiter by itself is very good for the deck, especially when he has all this extra mana just laying around.
Yep.
And it allowed him to win.
So, I believe that Ryan's looking at a 5-land hand with a Fatal Push, an Inquisition, a Lingering Souls, and something else. Feels fine.
I think it is another 1-lander.
It's definitely another 1-lander.
Yeah. So he decided to scry. He's deciding not to crack it to have a better chance of actually having a land on top.
So, that's one of those things I see people do a lot, is they're like, I'm not going to calculate especially because it gives me a better chance, but I like just doing the Inquisition because it's the better play. Like, the percentage points that you gain by not fetching are so low as compared to being able to gain access to what your opponent's doing turn 1.
Now, I am curious if Ryan went ahead and Inquisition on turn 1.
Yeah.
We see that Connor had Birds, Vizier, Devoted Druid. Do you try to keep him off the fast mana, or do you just have to go straight for the combo?
So, being that you're so low on resources, you might have to go to the combo, because you do have a removal spell, but at the same time, it's very possible that Connor just runs you out of resources, so you just want to prevent yourself from being punished super hard if he's able to get around it.
Ooh, and he also has an Eternal Witness to get back whatever piece Ryan makes him discard.
Yeah, I mean... So now that he's doing this on turn 2, I think that that's the take, but it might also be Voice of Resurgence. Because taking the Vizier doesn't do a ton, and you can push that the next turn, whereas the Voice of Resurgence can just carry him in the mid-range game.
See, I kind of like taking, or playing out the Eternal Witness right here to be able to get back the Vizier. In the case that Ryan has another discard spell, well, it cancels out.
Yep.
Because Ryan's going to have to shoot for the same thing. If he's playing a discard spell, that means he doesn't have a blocker to be able to deal with whatever Connor has on board.
Yep.
In that case, it would be Eternal Witness to swing in.
Yep. So Ryan went for a Fatal Push on the Scavenging Ooze.
He's still missing his land drop, unfortunately.
Yeah, this game is slipping further and further away from him. If he draws a land this upcoming turn, he might be able to do something. But even then, right now, Connor's just had too many turns, and doesn't have a ton of mana currently. But next turn, he's going to have a substantial amount more than he does now. And Ryan's first land he picks up is a tap land. So
yeah, I do like, since Connor missed his land drop. In this case, just playing the Devoted Druid so that he has the mana next turn.
Yep.
I feel like that was misplay not taking the Eternal Witness. Chord is good, but this is going to give Connor infinite mana right here.
Well, infinite mana, and then he has the way to go through his entire deck, so...
Yeah. So, like, whether or not Connor drew a land...
It didn't even matter, because he had 5 mana, so you could play the Eternal Witness, get back the Vizier, play his Werewolf, and pick up his deck.
Yeah.
And that's game.
So, it was an unfortunate draw for Ryan, like having to mull down to 5 and still only having a 1-lander.
Yep.
But Yeah, Connor just kind of had everything that he needed to win this
He had
one.
everything he needed, and Ryan just wasn't able to keep up with it because he didn't have the resources or the mana.
Yeah.
Which, mana is a resource, but different type of thing. So, which side do you want to talk about the sideboard from? Because I'm not familiar with either side here, honestly.
Okay, I'll get us started with Ryan.
Okay.
So, in this matchup, okay. So,
You thinking about it?
I'm actually not very sure what the best sideboard cards are for this. Like, Damnation might be all right, playing a little bit more of a control matchup against Connor's deck, getting the board wipe. Like, Ryan is playing 5 Planeswalkers here that lets him just stabilize on the board, kind of prevent what Connor is doing. I don't like something like Surgical Extraction here.
Yeah, it's low medium quality. It can stop the Infinite Life combo, but
I feel it's overplayed. Like, that is not a card that you want to sideboard in against every matchup just because they have something that might interact with the graveyard.
Correct.
So I don't like that. Worship is interesting, but I don't think this is where you want it. One of the big problems you have with it is he can get the Walking Ballista and deal with anything that you have on the board.
Yeah, like if he goes for his combo win, having the Worship doesn't matter, and it's a 4-mana sorcery card, which does put you pretty vulnerable to what Connor is doing.
Brutality?
Yeah, that
seems pretty decent. To be able to hit Collected Company, to be able to hit Court of Calling, be able to hit either Vizier or Devoted Druid on the board.
Yep.
So that does seem like a nice removal spell to kind of deal with.
So what I'm getting
what he's got going on.
What getting from the from Shalrima here is he thinks that 2 Brutality, 1 Damnation. At which point, I imagine you probably cut the Lingering Souls. Keeping your hand disruption seems fine here. You don't want to cut down the removal spells. Grim Player is, I think, better than Lingering Souls here. You're not really, or 3 Veils. Never mind. That's actually fair.
Liliana the Veil isn't great because Connor's just going to flood the board.
Yep.
Like, he's perfectly fine with sacrificing one of his mana dorks.
That's fair. All right, and then we got the Counters Company side, and so this matchup where I could see bringing in the Voice of Resurgence, the 2 Voice of Resurgence, just because it's a good card in the green-based mid-range matchups.
I like the Abrupt Decays here.
The Abrupt Decays, that's fair.
It deals with
a good portion of his threats.
Yeah, it deals with Tarmogoyf. It deals with New Lily, Last Hope. And it deals with Bob. It deals with a lot of Ryan's threats on the board.
It deals with everything but like Kalidas and Siege Rhino, and that's fine. As for cuts, what would you cut here?
I think, if Ryan is going to still have a bunch of discard in, I once again don't like the combo too much here.
Yeah.
I think trimming once again is correct. Vizier doesn't do too much. You're not going to be able to pull off the Kitchen Finks combo with Vizier as much because he has Kalidas if he gets that out.
Kalidas plus all the removal and discard make it a little bit hard to get off a 3-card combo which requires creatures to stay on the board.
I still like keeping in something like Dustwatch Recruiter because this is going to be an attrition matchup. It's going to allow
it can gain a lot of value.
Correct. I think just the Seer, Walking Ballista, and a couple of Viziers is probably correct.
Then just bring in some number of Abrupt Decays, Voice of Resurgence, and playing a little bit more of the mid-range matchup. Alright, so we're going to go and start up the matchup. It looks like Ryan's on a 6 right now, and it looks like he's looking at another 1-land hand.
Ooh.
Alright, so he sees a land on top. Also, if we could possibly get the life totals to 20 apiece. Sweet.
And Connor's also up a match, or up a game, sorry.
Yep. Now
he's also up a match, but we don't need
he's
that
not
visually.
Yeah. So Ryan this time choosing to keep the to not shuffle this time because he knew that there was a land on top of his library from the scry, and he needed that land, so he's going ahead, drawing it, playing it, fetching for a shock land, and presumably playing some sort of 2-drop here. looks like he has Dark Confidant, Abrupt Decay, and
Yeah.
Tarmogoyf.
I like this play. Connor is very light on any type of removal.
Mhm.
The only thing you really have to worry about is if he happens to have Walking Ballista and wants to pop it right there.
Yeah.
Now, it is a good target. Like, if I had a Walking Ballista in my hand, I would insta-kill that Bob,
Yeah.
because it's going to put Ryan far ahead. But I really like this play.
Yeah, I think that it also helps him kind of catch back up from the one card he lost on the mulligan. But Connor did have an Abrupt Decay for it, which is pretty good.
Mhm. All right. So Connor's going to be able to start pushing his advantage here. Ryan's stuck at 2 lands, unfortunately.
So he's stuck at 2 lands. He can at least cast things with 2 lands, as opposed to last game where he could not cast anything aside from some irrelevant spells. So we might see a little bit more of a fight from Ryan's side, but Connor's kind of going to be able to start playing Collected Companies and other value cards like that this turn, and that feels really bad for Ryan right now.
Yeah. The Liliana of the Veil that's in Ryan's hand isn't going to do very much this match, unfortunately. Like, as we said, it's not great here.
Yeah.
Connor has 2 mana dorks on the field. Like, he does not mind sacrificing one of those.
Now, Connor chose this turn to just throw down, instead of playing the Collected Company, throw down his 2 2-drops. This means that if Ryan taps out for something that isn't a removal spell this turn, next turn he can theoretically win the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I like the play. It forces Ryan to react to the board with the little bit of mana that he has.
Yep.
So Ryan is restricted on mana, meaning, like, hey, I got to play whatever I absolutely can to keep Connor from winning, but I'm no longer establishing more of a board state here.
Mm-hmm. And at that point in the game from Connor's side, you're totally fine with that happening. Because the longer Ryan just kind of sits there and does nothing, the better the game gets for you.
Yeah. All right. And we see another Collected Company for Connor.
And that feels pretty good for him right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Connor's just playing it super super chill here, waiting till end of turn to fire off this
watch flips. Okay. And so Connor's probably going to collect a company to see what he hits. See if he wants to block this Tarmogoyf or not.
I don't think that's entirely reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
There is an argument for not doing it, but I think that at this point you kind of do have to factor in your life total a little bit, and if you get something that creates a good block, you might as well go for it.
Yeah. And it looks like he has Finks alongside Vizier, so that's a good combo. Being able to just block the Tarmogoyf with the Finks and getting it back.
Yeah. Now, I do see a Fatal Push being pushed towards the front of Ryan's hand, so if Connor does go for the Finks plus Vizier combination, then Ryan can get pretty good little blowout. Not so much a blowout, but a little bit of a trade there by killing the Vizier, and the Kitchen Finks won't come back as a 2-1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Connor is in a very comfortable spot at this point.
Yep.
Okay. And yep.
Yeah.
Ryan sees the play to get rid of the Vizier so that the Kitchen Finks doesn't come back without the counter.
Yep. And that's a good play. Like, it's a crack play, but it's not really a good play right now, considering Connor's just still so far ahead of you, and you're so constrained on mana that you basically time walk yourself there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
A single player has to cast 2 spells.
Okay. Oh man, werewolves
They're just trying to get some clarity on the card, because I do not believe it's English.
Yeah. No, that one's English.
That one is?
He just hadn't read it.
Okay. And, like, Connor doesn't necessarily have to play his company at this point. Like, he can just dig for some more cards off of his Dustwatch.
He doesn't need to, but at this point, I like just hammering in this board advantage he has.
Finish up the game.
Yeah. Like, there's very low chance that Ryan can get back in this game, but at the same time, if you just finish this game really quickly, then you guarantee that Ryan's not getting back in it.
Okay. Connor gets Eternal Witness. Probably get back a Collected Company.
Collected Company is the best pullback here. The Vizier doesn't do a ton considering the Kitchen Finks already has a counter on it, so it can't come back.
Yeah. Yep. And Connor goes with the Collected Company just to get some more value.
And he doesn't necessarily have a great attack here, but he is able to just kind of sit back, and he has a huge wall being built up.
Like, all Connor needs here now is... Gavony Township is pretty good. Like, he's going to be able to reset that Kitchen Finks.
Yep.
And just start to get in there with a little bit of damage. Like, even that bird can get in there.
Yeah.
Or he can just sit back and
like
do his Collected Company again and get closer to his win con. He
can sit back, do the Collected Company, or he can just activate Gavony Township 2 turns in a row, and that probably gets the game for him. I think that Connor has more winning lines than he has losing lines at this point.
Yeah. Okay. And Connor's counting it up, see if he can get in 10 damage with a single activation.
So
it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
yeah,
10 exactly if he swings in.
If he swings everything, he'll have lethal.
Yeah, because Ryan's forced to block the 2 largest, which are the Kitchen Finks and the Flip Dust Watch.
Yep. And that will be, he'll still be taking 6, 7,
exactly.
8, 9, yep, exactly 10. As you said, I just want to double check it.
You didn't believe me.
I believed you.
You didn't believe me.
My dad.
He doesn't believe me.
All right. So Connor getting another 2-0 here.
Yeah, don't believe the math major. I can't count.
I'm sorry. I know you're a math major. I'm sorry. All right. So yeah, now they're just talking over, and yeah, there's no way this isn't lethal, and that's all right. Yep. All right. So that was a pretty easy game there from Connor's side, and
we're going to be moving on to the next match shortly.
Ryan just thinking about everything that's led up to this point, and all right, scooping up.
Once again, if you're just joining us, you can find us here every week at twitch.tv/mtggetthere. Next week, we're going to be streaming some Standard with new Dominaria cards.
Yep.
We're getting the full spoiler on Friday, and we're going to try to brew up some fun stuff.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what's going to come out of that. I'm most likely going to be talking during the entire thing, but I'm probably going to throw together a deck in case someone wants it. I'm going to be working on a blue-black control deck of some type, or Grixis, blue X something in new format. Going to be testing that soon for an event anyway, so.
I think the uncommon legends are really sweet. I'm curious which of them are going to be constructed viable.
Yeah.
Like, they're great for Brawl for anybody that wants to start playing that. I think it looks like a very fun format.
Oh, it looks interesting if we're talking about Brawl.
We can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But in terms of Standard, like it's this weird power level of just like maybe fringe playability or fitting into a specific archetype.
Yep.
So, all right. So we're moving on to round 4. We have Ryan again on Abzan versus Sebastian
on Jeskai with Jace. So this list is pretty similar to the list that did well at the most recent Modern event. And a few differences here. That list did not have any Jace the Mind Sculptors. And I think it's either Secure the Waste or Sphinx's Rub, or maybe both that it did not have. I didn't look at the list extensively. But there are a couple cards added, a couple cards subtracted. The Torrential Gear Hulk is pretty norm for the Nahiri package.
Yeah, and it looks like he's only running 1 Jace.
Yeah.
So 1 Jace, 1 Nahiri split. I find it so funny that instead of getting an Emrakul to instantly win the game, the deck much rather play a Torrential Gear Hulk.
Yeah,
because that's still just good enough off of Nahiri's
It's going to win you enough of the games that happens, and unlike Emrakul, Torrential is actually a good card by itself that is feasible to cast. Because Emrakul's, it's a good card. but you're not realistically going to cast in Modern.
Torrential is just not a fair card.
Mhm.
Like, I've played against it more than I've played it, especially playing against you, and like just not only having your attacking creature get brick walled,
Yeah.
but also I'm going to draw 2 cards, or
Draw 2 cards, kill
Or-
something, counter
you
something.
know what? I'm not going to block your guy. I'm just going to settle the wreckage your whole board
Like,
and swing in for 5 the next turn.
so one thing that I noticed, because I've played this deck before, in Modern, people don't realize that a 5/6 body, they don't realize how impactful a flash 5/6 is until it happens. They're like, oh, that's really good. Because even in Modern, the stats on that card are pretty solid if it resolves.
I don't understand how they came to the conclusion of those stats either. Because think how good Snapcaster Mage is,
Yeah.
and think of how good Snapcaster Mage flashing back like Cryptic Command is,
Yeah.
and that's just a 2/1. Torrential, for a softer mana cost, gets to do it, and you got a 5/6.
So I
Blue.
honestly don't understand why they decided to go with 6 toughness. Like, I like it because it has 6 toughness, but boy, it could be 5. It could be a 5/5. It could be a 5/4. It could be a 4/5. Like, these are all more reasonable stats than the 5/6. But here we are.
Isn't that the best stats out of
It's
all
the-
of them?
It's the
Minus,
second largest one.
yeah,
Yeah.
minus like Verdurous.
No,
Minus-
red is a 6/6.
Red
Red
is
is
a
a
6/6.
6/6.
Yeah,
And-
it doesn't
But like,
do
it's
much.
the least impactful next
Yeah.
to Cataclysmic.
And Verdurous, it technically is a 4/4.
Yeah,
technically a
but
4/4.
we know it's at least an 8/8.
Yeah.
All right. So Ryan starting us off with a Verdant Catacombs, and Sebastian with a Celestial Colonnade.
So this matchup tends to get pretty grindy, and it's slightly favored for the Jeskai player side, but not by a huge ton.
Connor asking us how he did. You did very well, Connor.
Is there
I'm very
anything-
very proud of your deck.
Like, is there anything sideboard-wise that I could have done differently?
Sideboard, honestly, we weren't super strong on the sideboards ourselves.
Okay.
Yeah, we assumed you were mainly
My
just
reasoning for
cutting
cutting
down.
like some of the graveyard stuff was because I expected interaction from both of them on that front.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then just abrupt decays against Ryan because everything in his deck minus like Siege Rhino would be 3 of them.
Yeah, we agree with Siege Rhino. But try not to get, we'll talk about that more later on. For now, we got Tarmogoyf on the board. It's a 1/2. It's not at its best.
It's not wearing its vest. It's not yet on a quest. All right. Inquisition will help that Tarmogoyf along.
Yep.
And also give Ryan a good glimpse at the spell-heavy hand that Sebastian has.
So, see, he's left with 2 Logic Knots, a Jace the Mind Sculptor, Supreme Verdict, and 1 additional land. Now, Ryan choosing throw down the other Tarmogoyf, which can be a bit of a problem if Sebastian's able to resolve the Supreme Verdict on turn 4.
So it looks like Sebastian doesn't have another land right now. So, what are your thoughts, assuming that the search didn't just mill an instant, of Ryan instead grabbing one of the Logic Knots to grow his Tarmogoyfs, if his plan was to play another Tarmogoyf,
I
push in more damage?
I could certainly see that being the case. So I think that he was going for the kind of greedier line of hoping to make Sebastian fumble by cutting off his card selection. But I think that plan a lot of times is just, it feels a little too weak.
I don't like that for a mid-range deck.
Yeah.
That it's not trying to finish the game very fast. Like, I'm not trying to tempo you out. I'm not trying to burn you out.
And
like, this game is going to go on for probably 4+ more turns.
And it's also one of the things of that the other element to consider is it's not like Sebastian was messing the land drop for next turn. He had a land drop for the next turn, and he has an active search for his Kanta. So you're not really going to cut him off of what he wants to find.
Yeah.
Whereas if you cut down Logic Knots, that cuts down one of the ways he has to interact with you, which is you want to slowly whittle that down. And by taking it with the Inquisition and codes, like that's a pretty painless way of doing it.
All right. So we see a Path to Exile on one of the Tarmogoyfs to slow Ryan down.
Yep.
Sebastian not finding that 4th land that he needs.
No, he's not, but he is still feeling mostly fine. This Liliana is going to be quite a problem, though.
Mm-hmm. Ryan sequenced that well, like knowing that Sebastian has a logic knot, forcing Sebastian to use the removal first,
Yep.
so that he can't logic knot in response to the Liliana.
Yep.
Has to find a different way to be able to deal with it.
There's the argument that you grow your Snapcasters by playing at main phase 1, but I think that having the Liliana is honestly more important than putting Sebastian down to... he would be at 4, taking 1 more damage, and he'd be at 2 life.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, honestly, having a Liliana in play is more impactful than having Sebastian at 2.
Yeah. So, Sebastian wouldn't have been able to play that Supreme Verdict.
Or this
Or
Jason
no.
Mind Sculptor.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So he's able to just bounce it.
Yep.
I do like having the Jace here to try to counteract that Liliana's discard.
So this Jace plus Search for Escanta can start allowing Sebastian to counter the card disadvantage from Liliana. The main thing is he does have to consider the ultimate from Liliana is a real enough threat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be hard to deal with. He really needs a Cryptic Command to try to bounce that back to Ryan's hand and reset it.
Now,
it doesn't feel great, but it's better than losing half of his permanents.
Well, so if he draws a Cryptic Command, there's also a good chance that Ryan just goes Hellbent before he casts the Liliana, in which case he can bounce the Liliana in response to the activation, which would be a hilarious play.
Yes.
But it looks like that Sebastian is looking at a Nahiri the Harbinger, and honestly, I think that casting it, uptaking it, and then minusing the Jace here again feels solid. Because now you have 2 of your good Planeswalkers, and that Nahiri will be up to ultimate before... No, it won't be up to ultimate before the...
It'll be just short. Unfortunately, Sebastian has that Torrential Gearhulk in his hand and won't be able to search it up with Nahiri.
Yeah, that is unfortunate, but, I mean... He does have Snapcasters to grab. They're not nearly as impactful, but...
But if he's able to get that last land that he needs off this draw, he can just Torrential to hit the Cryptic to bounce the Lily.
He did discard the Torrential to the Liliana, though. It looks like. Because he kept the Supreme Verdict.
And also grew the Tarmogoyf.
Yep. So he can now brainstorm to try to find...
No, if that's true, then the Tarmogoyf should be a 5/6.
Correct. I don't know if they know that.
Can you guys check Tarmogoyf real quick?
Alright.
Okay.
Alright.
They're getting this fixed right now.
Alright, and in the meanwhile, just got another follow from Advent. Always great to have more people on.
Yep,
Like
thank you
to
for
thank
following
everyone.
us.
Yep. So they figured out the Tarmogoyf thing. It's a 6/7 because there's artifact and enchantment in graveyard.
Alright, so that means Jace might be telling Tarmogoyf to go away. Shoo,
So
get out of here one more time.
he might, but
Get out of my house.
he might be doing that. But there's also a good possibility that he is forced into brainstorming to try to figure out a way of preventing this Liliana from, you know, just destroying his board.
I don't know that he has an answer for both, unfortunately.
I don't think that he'll have a way to cleanly answer both. I think that he's going to be left in a situation where he can answer one or the other.
Like, he's able to activate Search for Escanta, but then he can't really do anything from there. He can try discarding a card to see if he can maybe a Lightning Bolt or Lightning Helix to take it down, to give him another turn.
So, just choosing to do nothing here. I almost like casting the Supreme Verdict because even if Liliana ultimates, that means you still get to keep one of your Planeswalkers. And there's no great split from Ryan's side. But it looks like he had the Path to Exile, which is just as fine.
Keeps him alive, but doesn't put him in a good spot.
It doesn't. I think that it depends really a lot on how these piles are split from Liliana and how Sebastian chooses. Because there's a good enough possibility that if he's left with one of these Planeswalkers plus enough lands, he can still win this game.
So what do you think about a split of Search, Jace, Nahiri versus 5 lands?
I think that's the a safe play because he'll have a lot of ways to get resources, but he won't have a lot of ways to use said resources. And it puts him in a weird spot. He can either try to win with what he has in play, or he can try to have the mana to play off top of his deck. And it looks like Ryan disagrees with that play, but I actually kind of do like it.
Yeah, it looks like Ryan's just trying to do a solid split between, giving him only the option of one. So why I suggested the first split is we already see the Torrential Gearhulks in Sebastian's graveyard, so we're not going to see an ultimate on Nahiri.
So he also is choosing to give the more lands to the Jason Mind Sculptor pile, which I really don't like.
No.
Because he's leaving him with mana to activate Search for Azcanta, plus the Jace to just continue to get all these resources. And like I'm not a huge fan of that.
No. I do not like that split at all.
And like you said, with the Torrential Gearhulk in the graveyard, you can safely assume that Sebastian's not anything like Emrakul or anything that you have to worry about from Nahiri.
Nikros the King states that he likes to split the most that way.
Referring to the one that you suggested or the one that was played out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe he'll give us a little clarity. Alright, Ryan has a Kalitas out. Jace is only going to have one more opportunity to bounce if he wants to try to get rid of that.
And if he does that, then he no longer has anything really going on.
Like he's able to activate Search for Azcanta to dig a little bit deeper.
Alright, so
I think he was agreeing with the split that I had suggested from his reaction. Okay, so Sebastian's going for a Brainstorm, I believe.
And this is showing that he's a little desperate to try to answer this Kalitas while also keeping...
okay, the one I suggested.
I mean, I don't know.
That was blunt, but okay.
I mostly just asked because the way it was stated, it could be either or. And I just want to,
This is Andrew, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought so.
Explains a lot. I didn't know that was him.
We're trying to drag out Andrew today. But he'll be joining us again next week.
Yep.
We love having him in the booth.
So
He's a little bit more talkative than the two of us.
yeah,
We're trying.
No, that's fine.
We're getting there.
So I hope that Sebastian has something here.
Okay. Well, he's able to find a land. See what happens. Like he's going to be discarding the last card he has, unless he has removal.
Okay. So in response to Liliana, he's going to tap the team and bounce the Liliana, which is fine here.
Okay. And Ryan's probably just going to be deploying the Liliana again, plussing it. But I guess it gives Sebastian one more turn. Try to dig for another answer.
I think that's one of the best thing he could do that turn. It allows him to keep the Liliana at a reasonable total and to keep his Jace plus keep his life total at a decent amount.
Yeah. Like, he's going to have to dig for an answer to be able to deal with the Kalitas.
Yep.
But he has two opportunities right now. He can brainstorm with Jace first, try to get even something like a Supreme Verdict, like just a 1-for-1 to Kalitas that is going to put things, get things out of hand, unfortunately. And then, like, he can also just dig with Search, maybe get another path.
Yeah. Now, if he finds an untapped land, he can just play a land and have the active Celestial Colonnade, which means that he does have a way of blocking the Kalitas. There is a little bit of risk there because a removal spell just blows you out.
Yeah, but it's It's better than nothing.
It's better than nothing.
Yeah. Since Ryan's also in top deck mode, like it's worth taking that risk.
Yeah, there's also a good enough possibility that Ryan upticks main phase 1.
Yeah.
And
like so.
Now
That's surprising that he didn't play out the Bob first.
yeah, I don't really get that. I don't think there's a good reason to hold the Bob. I mean, to just put the Bob in the graveyard.
If you play,
Like,
we've been over this before. If you're playing Bob in the deck, you always put out the Bob.
yeah,
I don't care if you're at 2 life.
and
That guy is going to do work.
and it's like the thing is, what are you concerned about? Getting countered? Okay, sure, it got countered. Oh no.
Yeah. It actually forces Sebastian to utilize his mana.
Yeah.
So
You
he can't activate Search. Like, activating Search is worse for Ryan.
He can't activate Search, and if he uses Mon, he also can't block with the Celestial
And there's
Colony.
that path. You got there.
He has the path, and now he's gonna be able to start getting value off the Jace, and he can keep that Jace in check, that Liliana in check with the Celestial Colonnade. He's also at 4 life, which means he's not dead to a single Siege Rhino.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Sebastian is still in this game. All right. It's gonna knock Liliana down, and we're gonna start doing some fate sealing. So Sebastian is in a really good spot now.
Yep.
But like, we could have saw this coming. He's got a Jace. He can't beat Jace. We've been over this.
No,
I'm gonna run that joke to the ground.
So, jokes aside, this is one of the matchups where an active Jace is just really hard to get past because you're trying to play this value game, and Jace is just the king of value.
Mm-hmm. Like, if Ryan had the Dark Confidant right now, it would be able to help dig him back to something. Like, Sebastian only gets to see the top card of his library.
Yep.
Ryan's like, okay, if you keep a land there, I don't take any damage. I get to dig 1 deeper to a value card.
Mm-hmm.
You put another card there, well, I get another non-land card that I get to play. So what are Ryan's outs at this point? Maybe a Siege Rhino, because Sebastian's down to... Nope. Not even close.
So Ryan's outs before this Siege Rhino. A couple other things. Ryan's outs now. He doesn't. He just can't. He's dead.
Yeah, it's I think we're pretty good here.
So we're gonna see Sebastian just kind of do his thing for a few turns.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna eventually ultimate this Jace the Mind
Solitaire.
Sculptor, and Ryan's just gonna sit there and watch him.
Mm-hmm. This is the Jace I remember. Oh,
This is the type of
my Jace is uncontested. You're going to have a miserable time.
see. This is the type of thing I really enjoy. And just like I have my Jace.
Because you're on the Jace side.
Yeah, it's great.
Isn't that the net zero fun theorem? Where if one person is having fun, that means the other person have equal but opposite amount of fun.
Yeah, sure. But
And Sebastian's favorite finisher of Settle.
Settle, I could just,
Or not Settle.
not Settle, Secure the Waste.
Secure.
Secure the Waste, still a card I've never been sold on. Save and Standard.
It's one of those cards that if you want to end the game fast, there you go. If you need one more turn, sure. If it's any other point in time in the game, it's not very good.
Yeah. Now we're going to go to boards. That game had some swingy moments, and debatedly, had that Liliana Ultimate gone slightly differently, the game would have been won for Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
But these are the things that you know looking back later on.
Yeah, I think what won it for Sebastian is he was able to dig for more lands,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to play like every bit of mana he had available turn to turn.
Yeah.
Was relevant for him turning that match around.
Yeah.
Had he been 2-3 lands
lower, then it would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I do have to say, though, from Sebastian's side, I didn't really notice, there weren't really any plays from his side that I disagreed with, and I think that he did play it well for what was given to him.
Mm-hmm.
So going to sideboards, though, if you want to start off with Ryan's side, I suppose.
Yeah. Can we get the full list? Does get cut off a little bit? Okay. Really like. Let's see. I like the Pithing Needle here to be able to deal with the Jace, the Nahiri, and also Search for Azcanta. I think Painful Truths is probably really good here to get a little bit more card advantage.
What does it do against Search for Azcanta?
When it's flipped, Sebastian won't be able to activate the actual search.
Oh yeah, because you can name the yeah.
Yeah. Like naming one side counts as naming the other side.
Yeah, I forgot about that whole weird thing.
Yeah, so it basically shuts off search.
Because you can't you can't technically
name
name the land, but you can name the front side.
Mm-hmm.
Silly.
I like the Lingering Souls to be able to keep applying pressure against Sebastian's Planeswalkers, or just put Sebastian in a place where he needs to either Supreme Verdict or get 4-for-1 with removal. Not sold on the Collective Brutality. You already have better discard for this matchup in Thoughtseize and Inquisition.
Yep.
Maybe an argument for Kitchen Finks, because it's a threat that they have a more difficult time dealing with unless they're able to path it.
Yep.
And maybe Nile Spellbomb. It gives your Grim Flare another card to help hit Delirium.
Mm-hmm.
It can hit stuff. It can prevent search from flipping over. It can turn off a spell from Snapcaster or Torrential Gearhulk. It's kind of like Relic we were talking about, where at worst it cantrips.
Yeah.
But I think that's... Oh, Thrun. I don't know why I didn't say Thrun. Just hiding down there.
No, it's fine. That is you were getting to it.
The de facto best card in this matchup.
Yeah. So, got that side. Now, switching over to the other side. The Celestial Purges are great in this matchup, being as they are... Well, actually, they're not even great. They're okay, because you can hit the Lilianas, you can hit the Dark Confidants. You don't have as many targets as you do against Jund because they're not playing red, but it's still a good enough card. Engineer Explosive is a great card because it can answer the Liliana, the Lingering Souls plan, as well as they have a lot of 2-drops, so it can get a lot of value in a lot of matches. I like bringing in the Supreme Verdict because it's just a nice way to clean up the board. And Elspeth Stone Champion, if it resolves, most of the time will win the game.
So something interesting that was brought up in chat is using Revoker to name lands. The new flip cards that turn into lands. So technically, you are naming a non-land card on the front side, which completely shuts off the card, including just it activating for mana when it's on its backside.
It's one of those weird things, and it only comes up specifically in a couple matchups, mostly in Miracles and Legacy, and occasionally with blue-white control / any blue deck that's running Search and Modern against specifically taxes.
All right. So Ryan starts us off with a Treetop Village, and Sebastian on with a Serum Visions. I don't think I asked you at the beginning. Who do you like better in this matchup?
I slightly prefer Jeskai. I don't think it's a huge favor. I think that there's a lot of room for Ryan Wren, but I've played this matchup a lot from the Jeskai side, and every time through different iterations of the format, I've always felt slightly favored. Not hugely, just like I have a slight edge.
Yeah, like Abzan has the ability to do that grind. Like it also has ways to gain card advantage, to keep at pace with Jeskai.
Yeah, like it certainly is not. It's not something you're just gonna easily sweep it with, but you have the tools to win the matchup. It comes down to a lot of how Ryan's hand lines up.
Liliana is really a big deciding factor in this matchup.
Liliana is a huge card in this matchup.
Being able to keep you off of cards, not being able to, like, once you're low on cards, you're not going to be able to do two things in one turn. Like, do you want to make your land drop, or do you want to cast a relevant spell?
Yeah, and it's honestly probably arguable that I'm a little skewed, and it's actually more favored from the Abzan side just because they do have so many threats that are either resilient or are just so impactful and hard to remove. Like, the Planeswalkers matter a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The Lingering Souls can go a long way in this type of matchup, and all the discard can certainly clear out the relevant spells you have.
Yep. Speaking of Lingering Souls, Ryan just deployed the front half of it.
Yep.
Sebastian's going to half Tarmogoyf. And yeah, Abzan gets access to Treetop Village. Now, I think all the Jund decks have just moved over to Raging Ravine, but from time to time, we'll see like a 1-2 split.
So I've seen recently a couple lists that have run 25 land Jund with 1 Treetop Village is a thing that a lot of people are on. So Treetop Village is a card that sees some play, and it is slightly better, and not so much slightly better in Abzan, but it's slightly more needed in Abzan because Shambling Event isn't nearly as much of a clock as Raging Ravine is, and Treetop can do some damage.
Shambling Event seems to be better for like the aggressive matchups.
Yeah.
You got a little bit of life gain. You just need a bit of a roadblock to slow them down.
Yeah, it's good for those aggressive matchups, but it's a little bit worse as your only threat because Raging Ravine just ramps up so well.
Yeah. So Ryan decided to attack with the Treetop. It looks like he's deploying his Dark Confidant after. I feel he would have been better off doing that in the opposite order to keep mana open for a Logic Knot.
Yeah.
Just in case.
Because that would force Sebastian to delve away. He would have 4 mana open, so he'd have to delve away 3 cards, which means he can only leave 1 instant sorcery in his graveyard.
And that allows Ryan to still go ahead and attack with the Treetop.
Now, I think that his logic was that he was expecting Sebastian to throw out some type of removal spell. But at the same time, being as that Sebastian have red and white mana open, he doesn't have a 2-drop removal spell that, aside from something like Blessed Alliance, that he could play.
I am a little surprised that Sebastian didn't snap off one of his Path to Exiles at the end of Ryan's turn to deal with the Dark Confidant.
Yeah.
Instead choosing to do so now.
The timing on that is a little weird. I'm not going to argue you on that one. Because it's so unlikely that you're going to let Ryan untap with that Dark Confidant. And if he played something, like if you drew something like Jace, he wouldn't want to bounce it because that leaves it dead to only the Treetop. But at the same time, you also just don't want to play a Jace because he has 5 power. So bad example on that part.
Yeah. And that would have let Sebastian keep open white mana to deal with the Treetop if he needed to. Or just deal with Ryan's whatever threat Ryan puts out on his following turn, allowing Sebastian to have all his mana available for him his following upkeep. Now we're back over to Ryan. Always has that Kalitas in hand.
Kalitas just, it likes him.
It's a very good card.
It's a very good card in the right matchup.
See a lot less of it now that Bloodbraid is legal.
Yep. It gets outclassed by so many of the other 4-drops that do the same thing. Well, not so much the exact same thing, but are trying to fit the same role of mid-range 4-drop.
It was usually between that and Piankir and Nalar in the Jund decks.
So, worth noting, Ryan here choosing to go for Lana, playing Cletus main phase 1, attacking, so that way if Sebastian decides to block to save 1 damage, he would get a zombie, and exile it. And it's an interesting line, and it makes sense. He also isn't committing a ton to the board, so I do like it. It's just...
I like that better than deploying the Tarmogoyf, because then he gets 2 for 1 with Supreme Verdict, versus if Sebastian deploys Supreme Verdict now, like it's really bad, Ryan gets to get a zombie.
Yeah, it puts Sebastian in a weird spot, and now Ryan gets to untap, and he has access to 3 man lands, all of which, 2 man lands and 1 creature, all of which Snapcaster cannot profitably block. He's choosing instead to not attack with those and just attack with Cletus, though.
I think we're likely to see a Path to Exile here to deal with the Kalitas. I don't know what else Sebastian really wants to...
So...
He decides to block instead.
He decides to block, which gives him gives Ryan a zombie, and I'm a little curious to see as to why he might be holding up a Crypt Command. But It seems weird to me.
Yeah. Now, if Sebastian just decides to untap in Supreme Verdict here, then he didn't really lose anything.
Yeah. Like, if he untaps in Supreme Verdicts, then it's all well and good.
Yeah,
But
maybe expecting Ryan to deploy another threat.
yeah. But at the same time, Ryan isn't going to deploy another threat when he has 2 threats out already.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing cautious so far as Sebastian can tell.
Okay, here's that Supreme Verdict to clean up the board.
And if Sebastian doesn't have another land, he's not going to be able to hold up that Logic Knot, though.
Mm-hmm. Does not look like he has one. So this is going to put Sebastian on a very precarious life total.
Yeah, he's going to go down to 2 here.
Because I don't think he has a bolt for either of the man lands.
Nope. He has that Path to Exile, but no white mana to cast it.
And Ryan's going to be able to put out that Tarmogoyf. Or...
No, he's just going to go for the
Lingering Souls.
Which I actually like more
yeah,
here.
That's a safer play.
This just puts Sebastian in a really weird spot, and I think that we're going to see Ryan take this one. Because Sebastian isn't going to reasonably answer the 2 man lands plus the 2 spirits this turn.
He's in the tank. Yeah, he would have to have something along the lines of...
If he has a Snapcaster Mage, he can survive this turn by going Path the Treetop Village, Snapcaster, block the Shambling Vents, Path the Spirit, go to 1. But that's, like, sure, that's a line, but it feels pretty medium.
Or Engineered Path.
Yeah.
He
has a few different things. If he has a Snapcaster Mage in hand, he can also play the fetch land, fetch an island, Snapcaster Electrolyze plus Path, and that puts him down to 1 life and mostly clears the board.
But yeah, I think going back a few turns, had he not decided to wait on the path and being able to keep up the mana for the other path, he would have been able to just deal with Kalitas earlier.
Yep.
He wouldn't be at such a low life total, and he would have a lot more control of the board. He would still have to deal with the man lands.
He'd still have to deal with those, but you can deal with those. That's fine.
And I guess Ryan is playing around Settle here.
He's playing around Settle, but he's playing into if Sebastian has Path plus Bolt, then he lives.
Yeah.
Or just Bolt, just any 2 removal spells.
Now, since he's fetching, he's going to have to deal with all the threats.
Yep. Which, seeing as he just immediately fetched, I imagine he's going to be able to do that.
Yep. Torrential? It is Torrential.
Okay. That's pretty much the best way of handling that. And if Ryan chose to attack with all of his creatures, he won't be able to do this. Never mind. Got him.
Remember Standard? Remember that guy was in Standard?
Man, that was an interesting little exchange there. A lot of talking going on. Didn't matter, Siege Rhino.
Yep.
Oh, man.
An interesting game of that, Siege Rhino. Every time.
Oh, man. I'm just barely holding on. Look at my sweet play.
I was about to say...
It's a Siege Rhino.
I was about to make a comment that, man, from this point, Sebastian might actually be able to get his way back into it with this Trencher. Nope, doesn't matter.
No.
Here's my Lightning Helix.
So, we brought it up a little earlier, but Brawl. I think it's a very interesting format. Like, I don't mind that it's restricted to standard cards. I love that there's no Soul Ring.
So, the no
it's
Soul
very
Ring,
contested, but...
that is fair. My big issue with it is it feels weird to me because it's trying to kind of fill the commander slot because it has the whole one-up fill and you're trying to do more fun things than you would be doing in like a say competitive format. But it's also in the midway point in the way that it's 60 cards. So you're kind of at the point where you're like, I can't play this full-on competitive standard deck, but also can't really do the fun shenanigan things that you can do in Commander because your options are so limited. You're not going to be able to do anything too extraordinary or anything that you couldn't really do in Standard.
I disagree there. I think the format allows you to play with a lot of cards that you wouldn't be able to play in a constructed standard deck.
That is true.
And instead, you have to kind of build off of a theme as you would in Commander.
Yeah.
I believe I was listening to one of the Commander podcasts the other night,
Mm-hmm.
and one problem you do run into with Commander, since the pool is so large,
Yeah.
is a ton of these decks are all starting with the same cards. Like, of your non-lands that you're playing, so like 63-ish,
Yes.
like 20 of those are stock.
Yeah.
That your
Like-
deck is definitely playing regardless what it is.
So it does have an issue, and that issue is going to be ran into a lot of times with that type of thing, just because there are just so many cards that stand above the others. It's one of those things where it feels like the type of casual format where it just doesn't feel like you have enough to do that feels different enough from other formats to make it something that I would particularly be interested in.
So I disagree there. Well, I'll explain it. You know those cards like you love to draft?
Okay,
Like
yes.
those fringe playable cards that are like amazing in draft, and you always try to
Yes.
build around it, but like unless you actually open it in draft,
Mhm.
you're not going to have the opportunity to do so. This is the perfect format for
So
it.
it's essentially a way of showing off kind of like the cards that are really fun in kitchen table Magic, but don't really ever have a way of getting their way to construct Magic in an impactful way. And I get that. It's something that will probably grow on me just initially. I think having the initial comparison directly to Commander is what kind of makes it feel a little lifeless for me.
And I don't think it should be directly compared to Commander. I
Yeah.
think it's going to be a completely different beast.
Yeah, I think that the fact that it's so directly compared is what's going to put a lot of people off, and I feel like it's like something that I'll warm up to, but right now I'm just not too hot on it.
All right, and we're off to game 3. All right, Sebastian starts off with a Search for Azcanta.
All right. So Search for Azcanta, a card that's very good in this matchup, just because it's slightly hard to disrupt
We
things.
have Andrew asking if we're going to do a Brawl stream.
No. Never.
Let's wait and see.
No.
I think it's too early to do so because we're probably going to have a couple weeks of new standard. And we got to fit in some no ban list modern.
No ban
before
list modern for the
SCG-Con.
thing. There's probably gonna be like a legacy stream, but at some point, like there'll probably be one, and I'll probably complain about it.
Okay. Sebastian quickly lightning helixing the
Dark
Dark Confidant
Yep.
to be able to just get it out of here.
So-
We don't want you drawing more cards. I get to draw cards. You don't get to draw cards.
So that being said, Ryan is
Ryan's
able-
like, all right, if I'm not going to draw cards, we're both going to discard cards.
So now it's an interesting game because Sebastian has card selection and Ryan has card disadvantage, and Ryan's also working with slightly more cards in his hand.
Yeah, having more cards in hand is going to allow Ryan to wait to deploy any of his threats until like Sebastian basically gets empty-handed. Additionally, he has a Lingering Souls in his hand, which he's perfectly fine to discard or just use both sides of.
Yep, and it looks like he decided to not.
It really pains me to see that discarded again.
So I think that normally there's an argument for keeping the front side of Lingering Souls, but right now, just discarding Lingering Souls, and the next turn, if you're able to play an untapped lane, you can go Lingering Souls plus Dark Confidant, and that creates enough of a board that your opponent has to deal with it, and you're still upticking this Liliana. You essentially are able to continually keep Sebastian's hands tied while upticking this Liliana to ultimate, which is what you want to do.
Yeah. All right. Sebastian doesn't have too much going on right now. He does have a Supreme Verdict, but with Ryan not having any threats deployed, like, doesn't do too much.
Yep. And
I think we're going to see the front half of the Lingering Souls to start. No, not going to play that land. That's the only land you got.
All right,
I don't think you want to discard it.
probably not. He looks like
I
he's
think you want to discard that Lingering Soul still.
yeah, like that Siege Rhino gives you kind of a late game burn spell, and its body is decent, but Cletus is also kind of medium.
Yeah, that's fine. Like, since you have the Siege Rhino in hand, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I think it's a little too early to be playing that.
I prefer to play the Lingering Souls just because it like puts something in play.
Mm-hmm.
And
like I'd worry Sebastian would still have the counter spell right there to be able to deal with your Painful Truths, and like you don't want a 1-for-1 with that card.
Yeah,
the point
is
of that card is getting ahead on cards.
And Sebi's stuck on 4 lands, which can be fine.
It's not great. And Liliana is getting ready to ultimate.
Yeah, and Liliana ult when you are at a very low land count is pretty impactful.
Mm-hmm. This card's Lightning Bolts. That surprises me a little.
So
like he wants to flip his Search for Azcanta. Maybe does he have a Cryptic to counter and bounce? Doesn't know. It looks like he has a Supreme Verdict and Azorius Charm in his hand.
That's
not doing much.
Not at all.
Like he's going to be able to Verdict here to
clean up the board, but then there's that Liliana.
Mm-hmm.
And without the Lightning Bolt.
Oh, it is a Cryptic.
Okay.
Okay. Like if you're going to do it, you do it now. Ryan's tapped out, so he can't replay the Liliana. Like you counter and you bounce the Liliana.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, that's what he does.
Easy enough.
All right. Now he has a chance to get back in this.
Looks like, was that another Cryptic he picked up? I can't quite tell.
It's a little hard to see.
Well, we're about.
Yeah, we're gonna find out.
Okay.
Celestial Purge.
Celestial Purge and Supreme Verdict.
I like taking the Purge here, so Sebastian doesn't have a clean answer for the Liliana.
Yep.
Yep, that's what
and
Ryan
then
chooses.
Liliana takes care of the Supreme Verdict and puts Sebastian in top deck mode when while you have out 2 Lingering Souls. And
I like activating Search here.
Yeah.
That way
it's
you have
free.
that selection. Yeah. All right. Cryptic. Second Cryptic a little late.
Definitely a little late to the party, but it can still do something here.
Yeah. Okay. Back over to Sebastian. He's got a land.
And he's hastily going for something here. Okay.
Killing the Liliana. That seems like a strong play.
And
I forgot he had that Colonnade in there.
Yeah, it's easy enough to forget when you're looking at it from the top side. But Ryan could have prevented that by holding back 1 of the 2 spirits. Small low misstep on his part.
There's that Siege Rhino.
And Sebi just pass him back. He has the Cryptic available to him, and
also has a Path to Exile.
Okay, I couldn't tell what that card was.
Yeah.
Right.
So Path can deal with the Siege Runner there. I feel like he wanted to. I don't know. The souls aren't doing too much. I was going to suggest potentially activating Colonnade, blocking, and then using the mana to path, but getting more of a card advantage right now is probably better than just taking 2 damage from the souls.
I think that you're fine to take some more damage. Your life total is a resource that is available to you, and you don't have to worry about all that much burn. You can play around 1 more Siege Rhino, but I prefer to save to get a little bit more card advantage than to save 1 life.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Sebastian's going to dig for some more goodies. Another Cryptic is nice. Sphinx's Rev is very nice.
So if he picks up the Sphinx's Rev and has another land, he can do it for 4 next turn, and that feels like a really strong play.
They're just double checking to make sure that
they
Ryan didn't flash it back yet.
Yeah.
They also assume that we're going to be able to catch whether or not they did, but we're pretty certain that
no,
Ryan
he
cast
definitely
the
cast
front
it.
half. Yeah. All right. So we got another search. We have a Cryptic, and we got a Sphinx's Rev.
So that's an interesting decision there. I understand it, but I have to wonder if it's not just better to do Sphinx's Rev for 3 on an turn.
Well, right here, he's able to tap down the souls and bounce the tree top. Yep.
And like it saves him some life, but it kind of puts us in a situation where that
it kind of just time walks
it
without advancing his board.
It time walks, but if Ryan has another threat, then it just keeps pushing that keeps pushing back your Sphinx's Rev more and more. Like this is the safest turn to do it, most likely.
Looks like Sebastian got another land, so he's going to be able to Sphinx's Rev for 4.
And that's a really healthy amount to do it. It's going to negate most of the damage he takes this turn, and he's just going to bury Ryan in card advantage.
Sebastian's thinking for a moment. I'm not sure what he's in the tank about.
So we know
he has a Sphinx's Rev.
He has a Sphinx's Rev. I think he's thinking about making a play of trying to Sphinx's Rev into a Path Exile. But why though? Like, just take the damage and you're fine.
Yeah. He definitely wants to Sphinx's Rev now in case that Ryan has another Siege Rhino along with a land.
Yeah, but you can also you can still wait till end of turn, because if he casts a Siege Rhino, it's not like a flash.
Yeah, you don't want to get too greedy.
Yeah.
You never know.
He might just like flash out this.
They got a bunch of abilities on him. I ever tell you about the greediest play that my opponent did back when Sphinx's Rev was legal?
No.
I was playing the Abzan Reanimator deck.
Okay.
That had Unburial Rites, Thragtusk, Restoration Angel. It was also playing Obsidat.
Yeah.
My opponent was at 2.
Okay.
We move back to my turn, where I had Obsidat exiled.
Okay.
He waits till my Obsidat comes in with the trigger on the stack, Sphinx's Rev. I respond with a Resto Angel blinking my Obsidat. He, at any point in time during his whole turn, during my upkeep,
could have done this.
Before the Obsidat came in, he could have done this to stay at a safe life total, and decides to wait till the very end.
So,
just because a card says instant on it doesn't necessarily mean you want to cast it on your opponent's turn at the last possible moment.
I'm not going to get too far into like the semantics here, but I don't think that was greedy. I think that was just bad. Like, because greedy means that like there's a possible benefit for doing this line. There's not a possible benefit.
There wasn't. It's like, I knew you had a Sphinx in your hand because you passed the turn with all your mana up.
I thought the play was like he gets Sphinx's Rev for 1 more and stay alive through this combat, or he gets Sphinx's Rev for 1 less and have the mana cast removal spell, or something like that. That would have been super greedy. But anyways, what's going on?
So Sebastian Sphinx Rev at the end of Ryan's turn.
Yep.
He's been through 2 Serum Visions to kind of dig for some answers. He's got to deal with these threats. Okay, so he's got a Supreme Verdict to clean up all the souls. And let's see if he has a removal spell to be able to deal with this treetop.
Now the topper to this match. He attacks for 3, plays another land, and plays a Siege Rhino. It's just none of it matters.
Sebastian has to know now. Like after that last game.
All right, but it looks like he's what's he doing?
I'm not sure what he's doing. It is not 4 mana. Huh.
Sure.
I'm not sold on that play. I'm not really sure
Like it
what
takes
the plan is there.
it takes away some of his card selection, but like okay, I'd prefer to just like attack for 3 more.
Mm-hmm. Like Sebastian already has the flip search. It's
Yeah.
not really doing much. Like instead, Ryan could have played the Tarmogoyf, saw if Sebastian countered it, and
Yeah.
in either case, attack with the treetop.
Yeah. Like just keeping him under the gun matters a lot here. Like
Mhm.
it's gotta be a little bit more unrealistic to kill him with the treetop once he untaps with this amount of mana and then this amount of cards in hand. But at the same time, still just like making him constantly try to stay alive.
But then he's in Siege Rhino range.
Yeah. Like that's another thing.
Yeah.
It was
Like,
definitely
not
just,
a joke there. Like being able to attack with the treetop, and if Sebastian can't deal with it, then he's dead. Or if he can deal with it, then potentially he's dead to just a top deck Siege Rhino.
it's kind of thinking about like playing against like Burn and going down to 4 life when they can top deck a Boros Charm because they don't have a ton of Boros Charms, but they do have that as an out now.
Mm-hmm.
That card selection a little too powerful though.
Yeah.
In response to the chat, just too good.
Scry 1 strong.
All right, and
Like, how's Viserys legal? You just get to do that over and over.
okay. So Ryan cast a Scavenging Ooze. Sebi has a Scavenging Ooze in hand. I mean, a Snapcaster Mage in hand. Instead of casting the Snapcaster, he chose to go for the activation of the Search for Escanta, and he picked up an Elspeth.
But he can still Snapcaster and Path right here if he
Oh
wants.
yeah, I thought that he would completely tapped out, but yeah,
Yeah.
he has plenty of mana.
He's got plenty of mana. He might instead Lightning Helix here, because Ryan doesn't have enough mana to get Ooze out of Lightning Helix range.
Yeah, because he only has one
Mhm.
Fire Black. He might also be going for Logic Knot to prevent anything from his graveyard being eaten. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, it's definitely the better play, because anything that Snapcaster targets to try to remove it.
So now he gets to resolve his Elspeth on an empty board from Ryan's side, and this card's gonna take up the game real
Yeah,
quick.
we're also in turns right now. Sebastian just put down the die for turn 1.
So we're in turns. Sebastian has a few turns, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to win it, but it's mostly just can he win it in the set amount of turns.
Mm-hmm. Elspeth's going to help.
Yeah, that Elspeth's gonna make it real hard for Ryan to stay alive here. It'd be, and if Sebastian had any longer, there would be no way Ryan could win or make this not be a loss. But the turn thing does make it a little bit trickier.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So just in case Sebastian wasn't far enough ahead, he picked up a Chase the Mind Sculptor.
Yeah.
And he can even go for lethal attacks this turn if he wants to.
Yeah, Ryan does have a path that's going to prevent that.
He does.
Sebastian also is able to just pick up Burn to finish the game off if he needs.
Yeah. And he has one more turn after this, so he's perfectly fine. So he kind of shortcuts himself there. Search for Path to Exile, uptick to Elspeth, he's going to get the tokens, and then he's playing a Jace and deciding on what to do with it.
I think he just wants to brainstorm to try to finish off this game.
Yeah. And he's gonna go with the safe play and just Fate Seal.
Mm-hmm.
Alright.
Okay.
So
Sebastian
Sebi
takes game number 3 in turns.
Yep, a little bit of a longer game there, but that's about how that matchup usually goes. can get pretty grindy, and Sebi was just saying before a little bit there with he has a lot of resilient planeswalkers that just give him card advantage. That search for Azcanta is really strong. And now round 5, we're gonna have the Bomat guy himself, Justin, going in there with his Bomat red deck, and he's gonna be playing against Sebastian's Jeskai control.
Okay. So for anybody unfamiliar with the Bomat red deck, it's kind of like a burn deck, but it plays Bomat Courier to be able to get some more card advantage.
Yep.
It plays some earlier 1-drops. It does not play Goblin Guide.
Does not play Goblin Guide. It plays Harsh Mentor, which is a way of punishing a lot of different things in the format. It's really good against, say, Tron or Fendi, where they have a lot of activate abilities from sources that Harsh Mentor punishes. And you just kind of, you have things like Hazoret as well and Molten Rains, which allow you to play a little bit of a bigger game. And last one to mention is Goblin Rival Master. Really strong card.
Yeah. This deck feels kind of like a Zoo deck.
Yeah.
Like back in the day, especially like Legacy Zoo. I know I'm showing my age there. It played kind of a 20-20-20. 20 lands, 20 spells, 20 creatures.
Yeah.
And this is doing very similar. All the burn spells that he has can deal with creatures. He's not playing anything like Lava Spike that just goes straight to the face.
Everything can be used as board control or to race the opponent, and it allows him to play a completely different game plan than a regular burn does, and also allows him to adopt his game plan more instead of just being stuck to this one line every game.
The 4 Molten Rain can really trip up the opponent.
Yep.
And it's incidentally good against Tron.
Yep, it's incidentally very strong against Tron, and it can actually be really punishing in Modern right now because there are so many decks that have a high amount of colors in their mana base.
This also plays 2 cards that are currently banned in Standard because they're just too good. We got Rampaging Ferocidon, the 3/3 Menace.
Yep.
Players can't gain life whenever a creature enters the battlefield under a player's control. It deals 1 damage to him. And Ramunap Ruins, which taps for a red, taps for a colorless.
Yep.
You can pay a life to tap for a red, or 2 double red, tap, sack a desert, which is typically just going to be itself, to shock each opponent. Some games, like that reach is very helpful to be able to just get in those last couple points of damage.
Yes.
It also gets around stuff like Leyline.
Yeah. And this last little personal note, more than anything else, is this type of red deck that when I've played red in the past, I actually really enjoy this type of deck because you're just slightly different enough and you have slightly more interaction than the regular deck.
You're good to start whenever.
So I'm going to go and start off, and Justin, still hoping to win the tie. Well, his name's Bomat, guys. Sorry, that tripped me up.
Something Sharon mentioned, and I think one of Justin's opponents had missed it on the stream.
Yeah.
Is Harsh Mentor does not hit mana abilities. So Stars and Spheres will not cause your opponent to get shocked off of Harsh Mentor.
Yep.
But something like Expedition Map still will.
Something like Expedition Map, something like, let me see here. I just want to make sure Artifact Land or Creature.
Yep. So we'll hit flipped Search for Azcanta
Yep.
if Sebastian wants to dig. It doesn't hit Planeswalkers.
Which is unfortunate.
That'd be a
for
little
Sebastian,
too
so.
good. Like, I'm going to plus my Planeswalker, JK, -1.
Colonnade and Fetches and Azcanta are all relevant in this matchup. And Ryan, seeing that this is going to be a blue-white deck, not Ryan, Justin, seeing this is going to be a blue deck, just fires off the Lightning Bolt because he's not going to have anything kill, and going for the turn to Eidolon.
Yep. And if Sebastian doesn't deal with this right away, then it's going to hurt. But he has the Logic Knot to be able to get rid of it. Yeah, Sebastian plays like almost all 1 to 3 drops in his deck.
Yep. He has a few higher end cards,
He's
but
got some X spells.
Yeah.
He has a couple Planeswalkers, but
a lot of things that he cares about in this matchup are 3 or less mana.
Right, back over to Sebastian. Wouldn't be surprised if we see a search. Yep, there it is.
So got that Search for Azcanta out,
And
played a
there
fetch
his
in.
fetch land. that thankfully there is not a Mentor out against.
Yeah, if that Mentor was out, it'd be a bit of a problem if you had to take that much damage.
Okay. Gonna hit Molten Rain on his Hollow Fountain.
Alright, now that's pretty good in the control matchup. You're making his mana awkward, you're putting him down a little bit, and you're dealing him damage. These are all things you want to be doing in this matchup.
Alright. Justin not applying too much pressure, unfortunately, and that Searing Blaze isn't going to be doing too much this matchup.
No, it's not. Searing Blaze is a card that, while it can be really good in enough matchups, there are some matchups where it's just painfully bad.
Yeah. Like, he's going to have to get like a lucky Snapcaster or even Colonnade hit to be able to do anything. And all that really does is a Lava Spike.
Yeah, he's going to have to go through all these hoops to possibly turn into Lava Spike, because he also needs the fetch land to do it instant speed if it's something like a Colonnade.
Okay. So Sebastian waited until his turn to crack his fetch to see what kind of land he has. This tells me that he doesn't have another land drop.
He drew a land for turn.
Okay. Because he just decided to put a land on the bottom.
I'm pretty sure up till this point he did not have another land, but he drew a Scalding Tarn for turn, because I was wondering about that. Not cracking the fetch.
And we have another Molten Rain to deal with Hollow Fountain again.
Oh man.
So this is a nice way to throw Sebastian off balance.
This hurts him. So he is able to bounce back a little bit better from this one, because he will untap with an additional land off the Azcanta if he so does desire.
I think it's likely that Sebastian wants that other land. Not only to counteract the Molten Rain, but be able to play some of his higher end spells.
Yeah, and able to actually just like have the ability to keep on curve with Justin as well, because Justin's still keeping up with his lands.
So this is awkward for Sebastian. He has a Nahiri in hand, but he's not going to be able to get access to both a red mana and a white mana.
Yeah.
Like, he can search for a Sacred Foundry here, but that's not going to help him.
Yeah, he needs to hit 2 consecutive lands, well, 1 more land, to cast this Nahiri. And even then, Nahiri's not the most impactful thing he can do when he's at 8 life.
Okay. So it looks like we got a Harsh Mentor. So this is going to be really good against both Sebastian's fetch land, which he's going to be cracking immediately.
Yep.
And his search for Azcanta, which is going to end up a lot worse for him. Like, don't get me wrong, paying 4 mana and 2 damage to Impulse,
it's still fine.
Still fine. Not at 7 life.
Yeah, it gets certainly less so when you're facing near death from the opponent's side.
Oh, we got a reader.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, like,
Well, you can't blame him for looking at the Harsh Mentor because it calls out specific
3
abilities
specific
and specific card types.
It's one of those things where it's weird, and I would honestly read it even if I knew what it did a lot of times, just to be like, I want to make sure that I'm not remembering this incorrectly.
Oh man, Nathaniel doesn't know the card. It's like, no, I'm making sure to play well.
Because we've all had those times where we're like, there's this card that has a bunch of text, and then you're like, I know what this does, and whoops, I don't. What? 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 What?
That.
Okay.
Okay, so we got a few things going on. Let's so he's responded to the Snapcaster with a Searing Blaze to one the Snapcaster and Sebastian.
Okay.
To keep his Harsh Mentor from dying. I believe Sebastian had revealed the wrong card because we didn't know what was happening with that Lightning Helix.
Sebastian?
Yeah.
I'm not positive.
I thought it was twice. I think he's already dead.
No, he hasn't done it the most recent 2 times.
Okay.
I know that.
So Sebastian's definitely not going to be doing any digging. He's got to get rid of this Harsh Mentor. He has the Nahiri
Nahiri does answer.
Exile it. But he's going to need an answer to anything Justin has in hand.
Well, we also know he has that Lightning Helix. So, like, he could throw that out now. He should probably throw that out now.
Can he do both?
I don't
I
think.
think he can only do one.
He definitely cannot do both.
Okay.
But, like, staying at 2 life seems really risky.
Yeah. I like the Lightning Helix here.
Like, it feels bad because you're not progressing your board.
No, don't pass the turn. That's the worst thing you can do.
It doesn't look like Justin drew something that can punish it, but yeah, that was really bad timing.
Okay, Sebastian's realizing he made a very risky play there.
And I think that Justin's just kind of sit there and be like, I could have punished this, but here we are.
So I'm unsure what Justin has in hand. I know one of them is a land.
I know for sure, like you said, he has the mountain. I'm not sure what the other card in his hand is, but that Cryptic Command is probably going to answer it. And so Sebastian's feeling safe, but he's going to have to figure out how to get around it. Get around, like, not dying.
Is it another Searing Blaze? Like, it's a non-land card in Justin's hand.
I'm not for sure.
That like, Searing Blood, Searing Blaze seem like the only things he wouldn't be able to cast right now.
That feels like what it is to me, but I can't for sure tell.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it kind of looked like a Hazrat, but I feel like there are turns that he should have cast it. Not necessarily should have cast it.
Yeah.
Could have cast it.
Okay. I agree with Nikros that it looks like a Hazaret.
So I saw it as well and thought it looked like a Hazaret, but it just feels like there were a couple turns that I thought it looked like Hazaret that I feel like he would have
just jammed it.
Now we could be wrong here.
Yep.
Justin could be thinking further ahead than we are.
Okay. Sebastian is now down to 3 off of Reminat. Okay, and we got a Direfleet Daredevil.
Direfleet Daredevil, not bad.
I like grabbing a Lightning Helix with this, if it can resolve. It's not going to resolve, but like he knows Sebastian has the Cryptic in hand.
Provided that he has the Hazrat, he can play this and then play the other. And from Sebastian's side, he might be forced to let this resolve and counter the thing that is cast. Just to tap the mana.
I don't see any reason not to counter this.
That's fair.
Because Justin won't have access to the spell he's targeting if this doesn't resolve.
Like, I think it's one of those things where my opinion is skewed specifically because of Hazrat. Because if he let the creature resolve, then he goes to cast the Helix, it gets countered, then he can't cast the Hazrat.
We're also still assuming that he does have a Hazrat.
Okay,
like
he
I'm
definitely
sure
does not have the
else.
Hazrat because he just passed.
Yeah. Alright, so this will once again not resolve. He has Cryptic to counter and draw. Yeah,
It looks like one.
It's a Hazard, but he knows that he has Path in hand.
Okay, he knows he has Path in hand. Okay,
He got
then.
it off as comfort.
Okay, then. So he's trying to save it till he has 7 mana, I suppose, to try to cast and discard a spell. And
yeah. But that's still only going to get Sebastian down to 1. But yeah, I don't know. We'd have to go back and check, but there had to have been another opening that was best for Hazaret.
I feel like there was, but here we are.
All right. Sebastian does still have to win this game. Justin's sitting at 17.
So Sebastian has to win, and Justin does have a few cards in his deck that deal 3 damage.
Yeah. So Sebastian has to keep up his counter spells to not die and deal with whatever's going on there.
Yep, drew another land. Probably just going to hold it here.
I think we're at the point where he just has to start jamming stuff.
Yeah,
if he jams the Hazaret right here, should have fetched first.
feel like his best bet he has 2 cards.
I mean, I don't think he necessarily needs to fetch for.
He needs to fetch first because then Sebastian can just respond to the fetches.
Well, I mean,
with a path.
if he attacks, I think attacking first would.
But yeah, you want to attack first, but you want to fetch before you cast.
Yeah, fetch before you cast, and specifically if you do cast it before fetching, attack, and then if he removes it, you crack your fetches, not just crack your fetches main phase 1. That just feels.
No, I would crack fetches main phase 1.
Even if you have the Hazard in play. Because
no, I would crack the fetches
before you cast it. But if you cast the Hazard before cracking your fetches, you should attack first, because then that means that Sebastian can't do a thing in response.
But I'm telling you not to do that.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying what he did. It's a 7-mana shock plus rampant growth plus like random discard.
All right. Well, Sebastian's down to 1.
Down to 1, left
Sure
dead
is.
to a lot of things.
Yeah. He does have his cryptic still.
Yes, it's cryptic, but man, I'm curious to see when he decides to try to win the game.
Yeah. Yeah. So Justin could potentially just
Draw
get
a
a
desert.
Ramanat,
Yeah.
and yeah.
All right.
All right. So we got a Nahiri.
Got Nahiri now.
Try to dig for something.
Now the Torrential Gearhulk's gone. So even if he's able to ultimate this Nahiri, he's only going to get Snapcatcher Mage, which might be fine enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So Justin's thinking, do I go ahead and just deploy the Molten Ring now? I don't know what the other card in his hand is. If it is Burn Spell, this is probably a good setup. He's waiting for a second Burn Spell to force Sebastian to tap out with his counterspell.
Yep.
If it's just a land, I don't like this so much.
Yeah,
I like
because
him
you want
waiting
to
another turn.
You want to have the 1/2 punch set up, and
Yes.
you also know that I don't believe that Sebastian discard our card from Nahiri, which means he's happy with everything in his hand.
Yes. Got Rabble Master, but Sebastian unfortunately has a path.
All right, so Justin,
Justin,
get in
put it
close.
the deck. It's almost there. We're so close. We can taste it. He is out of mountains.
out of mountains, just hoping to draw that one banned standard card.
Just not a fetch. Don't draw a fetch. That is
The actual worst thing.
the actual worst card in the deck right now. All right. Oh, whoa.
That was
Sebastian path the token instead.
no, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's on the board.
No, it's
Yeah, he could have main phase path.
yeah, because it doesn't
Rabble
happen until the
Master.
beginning of combat.
Yeah,
I think that he just like used 2 removal spells for something that could have used 1 removal spell for.
Well, he was able to Sphinx his Rev, so I think this puts Sebastian at a very safe place.
Yeah.
Like he can Nahiri to go get a Snapcaster to Sphinx his Rev again if he wants.
Yeah, and that's the perfectly fine play. I think that he is perfectly fine to just go ahead and start cleaning this game up.
Yeah. He does need to deal with the Harsh Mentor before he decides to activate that Colonnade.
Correct. He's rearranging his mana.
Yeah. He's making piles like Josh sideboarding.
He's like, I need to figure out exactly how I'm tapping all this.
All right.
Lightning Helix on that.
Okay.
And Justin just
We're
scooping
good.
out.
We're good.
Like, that's a perfectly fine spot to
We're
scoop
moving
out.
on to the next game. You're going to win. It's going to take you 10 turns, but I'm not coming back from this.
Alright. Oh boy. Catch later.
Skullcrack.
Um,
Skullcrack. Seems
Exquisite Firecraft.
Yeah, Exquisite Firecraft is great, so it can't be countered. I also like Relic.
Okay.
We were talking about it earlier. Like at worst, it's cantrip, but I guess let's first look at what does he take out. He takes out the Searing Blood, the 4 Searing Blood. Actually, is he running Searing Blood anymore? I don't think he is.
That's awkward. So.
Yeah. So at the Open, he was running 1 Searing Blood. It looks like he did replace that with a land.
Yeah. So he has 4 Searing Blades, and those are going to be an easy cut. And the Skullcrack's going to be an easy bring-in, and you probably want to cut 2 more things to fit in the Exquisite Firecrafts as well. I don't think the relics are necessary.
No, he doesn't have enough that he would want to side out in that case. Yeah, let's move on to Sebastian.
So, from Sebastian's side, he has access to... The spells are not that great in this matchup, unlike in most red matchups, because there's not as many instants that you're worried about. The Celestial Purge is good because it answers most of the threats from Justin's side. Honestly, there's not all that much that's good here.
I'm getting berated for suggesting Relic, even though it was last on my list of things to bring in.
So I think it's reasonable here, just because there's a possibility it gets into, like, it turns off the, can turn off the Search Force content and turns off the Snapcasters. I don't think it's the best pick, but it's certainly worth considering.
Like, it just depends on how many dead cards you have.
Yeah.
There aren't enough dead cards to be worth bringing in. Also, it's no surgical. Not recommending bringing surgical. That would be bad.
Yeah. Surgical is an entirely different thing. Surgical doesn't replace itself, and surgical is just kind of medium in this type matchup.
He was commenting that Justin may have brought it in.
And that's fine. Like, he has enough things to switch around. But yeah, like, from Sebastian's side, he doesn't have a whole lot of good bring-ins or cuts. He's probably going to bring in... That Wear Tear has some amount of play to it because it hits Bomat Courier and it hits Eidolon, but it's not that great.
I don't like that.
I don't like either. It's just a thing to throw out.
But the Purge, the negates...
The Purge... How good are the negates, though?
Against the burn spells?
Against the Lightning Bolts and the Rift Bolts?
Anything? Yeah, it's not going to do anything against Firecraft. That's the whole point you're bringing in. Okay.
Yeah. Goblins, I mean, they're a fun little tribe. There might be an interesting deck pop up with them in Modern come Dominaria because of Scourge Prospector.
Molten Rain. Did Molten Rain stay in? I still like it.
I still like Molten Rain.
Yeah, being able to trip Sebastian up.
You're playing against a control deck, keeping them on mana as a way to win the game. I forgot that was in the deck, also. So yeah, negates.
Yeah. So the thing Andrew was mentioning is he feels that players value Graveyard Hate against Jeskai too highly, which...
So
like you could...
I think that's reasonable, but I think Relic is one of those cards that kind of is a little bit different because it's more versatile than, say, Rest in Peace or Surgical Extraction. It replaces itself, and it can whittle down cards like Search for Escanta and Snapcaster.
Alright. So Sebastian is probably trying to counter this Molten Rain.
I would imagine so.
I think Justin's hope here is, in the case that it does get countered, get some more cards on that Bomat Courier, so that you can pop it the following turn.
Yeah, like, I think that he's perfectly fine with just throwing this card away, and it kind of, once again, just gets cards out of Sebastian's hand and allows for his later spells to have a better chance of resolving.
Alright. So, we got a Rift Bolt. I like suspending this early, probably playing out another threat from his hand if he has one, and like
It
You're
looks
fine
like
to dump the Hazoret to get some more cards.
so. It looks like it's Exquisite Firecraft, and then I could be wrong here, but it looks like 1 or 2 Hazoret.
The Firecraft makes this a little tough to figure out whether or not you want to actually sacrifice this Bomat Courier.
Yeah, like it gets a little weird now. Because
well, Justin does not have Spell Mastery right now. Is that correct?
he does
Is that
that.
2 fetch lands and a Molten Rain?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I like popping Bomat here.
Yeah.
It looks like he had a Skullcrack.
Yes. He
Huh.
chose not to cast it.
He did bring in a Relic.
Okay. Just going. If Sebastian, like, you have no way of getting anything relevant with the tap ability this turn cycle, but you will be able to replace the card of Relic of Progenitus, and it can kind of start just keeping Sebastian's graveyard kind of lowered.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I'm curious how important it is for Justin to get that Snapcaster out of the way. It looks like he's just going to ignore that Snapcaster completely and get damage into the face. Ooh, we got another another Molten Rain.
Okay, if that were to resolve, it could be good, but the issue does become again that he doesn't really have any pressure on the board.
Alrighty, so we got Rampaging Ferocidon to start us off.
Okay.
That might see a counter.
It's definitely a counterable card. It's a 3/3 that's very hard to block, and if
the no life gain is what's a little tough. Like,
yeah, it prevents your Lightning Helix from gaining any life, and essentially just turns into a 2-mana Lightning Bolt, which is pretty solid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Sebastian decides not to counter it, and that little guy's going to get in. He's got Menace.
Yep, cannot
It's
be
way
blocked
too
by
menacing.
can't be blocked by the single Snapcaster Mage.
Got your Chan. He's like, nope. Look at those teeth. Not
dealing
getting
with
in
that
its way.
today. And I'm not for sure about this. The only thing I see in Sebastian's hand is the Cryptic Command, so it looks like he's probably considering whether or not to bounce this now. I'm kind of solid that he didn't, because if this Molten Rain were to resolve destroying his one of his 2 Celestial Colonnades, it would hurt a little bit.
All right, so
Molten Rain's cast,
not getting there.
Yep, got negated, and now Justin's going to go and pass it back.
Okay, but we do have Exquisite Firecraft in hand that does have Spell Mastery.
Has active Spell Mastery, and Subby's at 8 life.
Mm-hmm.
So his life total is getting to the point that he has to be concerned about just dying at any one point.
Mm-hmm. All right. So I think we're going to see Justin try to get in there first.
Yeah.
We got a Skullcrack he picked up for the turn.
Yep, he has a Skullcrack, and he has an Exquisite Firecraft, which is 7 points of burst burn damage if Sebastian ever taps out.
Okay. I think Justin's debating if he wants to Firecraft one of the Snapcasters to be able to get in the damage, so Sebastian can't block. I'm not sold on that with Sebastian already down to 8.
I'm not a fan of that at all.
And also Justin having a Raminap to try to get those last points in. Looks like Justin just decided to pass.
That feels fine, because if you're not playing out game with Snapcaster Mages, attacking isn't really doing much. And
I kind of See, now this is a point where the relic is kind of awkward. Like, being able to pop it to draw another card would have been really good, but you got to hold on to your spell mastery.
Yeah.
So there's
that
no
is
point
fair.
in doing that right now. Okay, so spell mastery, exquisite firecraft, put Sebastian down to 2.
And now Sebastian's kind of in a situation where he is really pressured by a lot of things.
Now Justin's just waiting for him to blink. He's got the Skullcrack in hand to be able to deal with anything Sebastian tries to do.
Yep.
Sebastian does have a spell snare, so it's not going to work out very good. He's got perfect mana to Cryptic Command to get rid of something that might be in the way, and then proceed to spell snare the Skullcrack.
And it looks like he's going to go ahead and end of turn Cryptic bounce draw that. This might make Justin want to go for the Skullcrack, and it's met with the spell snare.
Okay. So let's see. Sebastian has got another Cryptic in his hand. He's just at a very low life total.
He's at a very low life total. He has to worry about another Exquisite Firegraph coming off the top at any one point, because that would be the end of him.
I think we're going to see Justin pop this relic at the end of turn.
Oh yeah, for sure. He's past the point of really worrying all that much about Snapcaster Mage, considering there are 2 of them in play, and Search for Azcanta wouldn't flip very soon, nor are you really worried about Search for Azcanta.
Now, Sebastian did pick up a Sphinx's Rev. It's only for 2, but every little life point does matter in this game.
Yeah. It's the big thing is just finding a point to fire off that's convenient, and I don't think he's going to have one of those points for quite some time. Because if he fires off now, then that's just too risky.
Depending on what Justin draws, he might be able to put out the Ferocidon, forcing Sebastian to deal with it if he wants to gain any life. In the case that he does counter that, Justin might have another burn spell that he can just play off the top.
Which means that if he plays the Ferocidon, most likely he is going to resolve, because Sebastian has to be worried about just dying.
Alrighty. So what we got? We got a Lightning Bolt, we got a Swift Sphere, and the Ferocidon.
Okay.
So Sebastian's thinking. Trying to figure out how he wants to handle this. Alright.
Alright.
I think we're going to see the Swift Sphere come down? No?
Nope. I think he's going to hold that Swift Spear to a later point, and...
Oh, he does decide to counter it.
Okay, and Justin is... Okay.
He's got the Dispel, but he's able to take care of the Snapcaster Mage and keep the Swift Spear there.
So Dispel, still card I'm not really sold on in this matchup. It looked really good right there, but there just aren't that many instances that you can counter aside from Skullcrack and Bolt.
Well, it's the same argument for Negate. Like, I suppose in this matchup, Negate and Dispel hit the same number of cards?
No, because Negate hits all the cards that Dispel does, but Negate also hits Molten Rain, like you mentioned.
Okay.
And that's 4 more cards, which is just enough, whereas Dispel hits a very limited amount of cards.
Alright, we got a
Bomat
Courier coming in. Or getting countered.
Another one that Corey mentioned is Riftbolt gets countered by Negate as well.
Yeah, that is a sorcery. Namely, it reads, cast this only during your next upkeep.
Yeah.
How many Bomat Couriers have you seen countered by Cryptic Command in your lifetime? I count 1.
Yeah, same. Alright, so we just gotta go for this Sphinx's Rev, go up to 4 life.
It's not great, but he's got to do it.
Alright, now does Justin get the rip? Nope, he picked up a Skullcrack.
Just 1 away.
So,
do you just fire it off now?
I mean, it becomes a weird thing, because it's, do you want to hold this and try to hope that there's a point where you can resolve it? Do you want to fire off now to just get the free damage in, but then worry about Sebi, like, firing off a Lightning Helix to gain life? It becomes a weird thing. I like holding it more, but it doesn't feel great.
Like, I could see the situation where he goes Exquisite Firecraft, if he's able to top deck it. And then he can follow up possible Lightning Helix.
Alright, so we got Dire Fleet Daredevil here.
Yep. We got Bolt. We got Cryptics.
Got a
We get
Dispel.
Sphinx's Rev for 1.
I have to imagine you're just gonna go for the Bolt. Like, the Cryptic has some merit, but it's not really that much value.
Alright. Sebastian's going to get hit by his Bolt.
Alright, and what's he gonna do in response?
I think we're going to see the Lightning Helix here. And here's his chance to Skull Crack. Let's see if Sebastian has counter. He does. Ooh,
Oh,
that's
man.
rough.
So, those dispels are gonna win this match.
Justin is very unhappy with Sebastian's deck. He's a little frustrated. There were some naughty words said. All right, he's hoping for the top deck Firecraft. Rebel Master isn't quite that.
Nope.
I don't think it's going to be sticking around very long.
Alright, is he gonna pass the Goblin Master or
Yep,
the
yep.
token?
We got the Rebel Master before it makes the token this time. Okay. And Sebastian is,
Wrapping up the game with Helix plus Colonnade.
yeah. That's the thing with red decks, though. Like, sometimes you're just that little bit off. You can't get into those
Yeah,
last
like you
points
get
of
him
damage.
to like so close, but
Yeah.
just not quite there, and that's what we saw happen both games there for Justin, which is a little unfortunate. Now we're gonna get to see the robots from Harley's side, more typical affinity list, play against the Bomat Red deck, which also has its little artifact man who is the front runner for the deck. See how this matchup goes. The Searing Blazes help out, do a lot in this matchup because they're removal spell plus burn spell.
Yes.
He does have 12 targeted burn spells. One of them is kind of awkward because the Rift Bolts being sorcery speed a lot of times is just kind of not that great. But having Lightning Bolt and Searing Blaze does help out a little bit. And Harsh Mentor is a beating in this matchup. So.
Yeah, so try to equip that cranial plating. Nope.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. You do get to do it, but you got to pay a tax.
Arcbound Ravager is a joke with that out. It's like, I'll give +1/+1 counter, take 2. I mean, you might win with that, but So.
It's better than that, was it Dragon's Blood? Pay 3 life, put a +1/+1 counter on something.
Oh, yeah.
It's slightly better, but I wouldn't recommend it.
I'm honestly not sure who I like more in this matchup. Like, it just feels weird. Like, they're very powerful cards from the side of Justin. But Affinity is just very consistently good at doing what it does, and it just goes wide.
Yeah, we saw Harley in the first match just completely dump his hand. He didn't seem too favored in the control matchup.
Yeah, but still won.
He was just able to outrace it.
And sometimes Affinity can just like go against some random deck like this and just put down 5 permanents turn 1, and it's just really hard for them to do anything against
Like
that.
Justin has spot removal, but if he doesn't draw enough of it to deal with each of the threats, then
yeah, he needs
he's
to draw.
going to fall behind.
He needs to draw the right parts of his deck, and he doesn't have any removal spells that are straight removal. The fact that they deal damage is a little awkward against things like the Master of Ethereum, the Arcbound Ravager, and other creatures that might be able to dodge that.
Now, I think Justin's probably favored sideboard-wise.
He does have 3 Smash to Smithereens amongst other things, so that's probably true.
Yeah, the main problems that Justin has to deal with from Harley's side is the cranial plating, which he doesn't really have an answer for main board.
Yep.
Master of Ethereum, as you mentioned, once again, doesn't really have an answer for that main board unless it's small enough. But if it's small enough, Justin's probably winning anyways.
Yeah.
And being able to deal with those threats in games 2 and 3 are very valuable.
Yeah, it definitely, with what you said in mind, I think that it feels slightly favored for Harley main board, and probably gets a little favored for Justin post board, but it still feels like an uphill battle from Justin's side. And could also be wrong in this. This is a matchup you see a ton.
And Harley's also on the play.
On the play, and that matters a lot for Affinity.
I think it's going to depend on what side of the deck, of Justin's deck, he draws.
Yes.
He doesn't want his Hazarets.
Yeah.
He doesn't want his Molten Rains. He wants his Searing Blazes, his Searing Blood, his Bomac Courier,
yeah.
probably.
He wants things to do in the early game which prevent him from just being killed too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
He also kind of has the awkward problem of he's not hard in on the burn plan enough to erase what Harley's doing,
Mm-hmm.
but he also is hard in enough on the mid-range plan to just out in-game Harley, because Affinity does have a good in-game,
Mm-hmm.
is the thing.
Ooh. So it looks like Justin has a one-lander. He's got Searing Blaze, like,
So it's one
I
of those
guess it
things.
just wasn't enough.
It's really risky, because from the looks of that hand, if he didn't draw the land on turn 1, he was not doing anything that game. So I think that taking them all to 5 is safer than keeping the risky 5.
I probably would have just kept it in that and
That's fair.
hoped I hit off the scry. Like, you have 2 draws to hit that second land, if
Yeah.
that indeed was a mountain in his hand, plus the scry.
Yeah, so you get to see 3 cards,
Mm-hmm.
which there's a good enough chance that it does hit you there. I think Justin's just leaning towards the safer side of things. There's a good possibility that you are correct, but it's one of those things where it's a little bit hard to say which is actually true.
He has like a 1 in 3 chance. So scry plus 2 draws, I would take it.
Yeah.
I know that's not exactly how the probability would work out. Like, in each case, you just have a better chance of a 1/3.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you also have to factor in how likely is it that you're gonna have a hand that can do better than that, and that's when it gets a little bit hard to figure out the exact numbers on.
Yeah, it's something along the lines of 2/3 cubed. 1 minus 2/3 cubed. Nobody cares about the math. It's fine.
I care.
It brings me back to my days playing WoW and trying to calculate item drops. You're like, well, if it's a 10% item drop, that means I should get it in 10 tries, right? It's like, no, that's not how the math works. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I care about the math, just like I'm not able to just like fully talk about it in depth because it's getting towards the end of the night.
Okay. Etch Champion is going to be one of the cards that Justin's going to have a hard time dealing with, both main and side.
Yeah. He just has no real way of answering it with active Metalcraft. Oh, Skullcrack.
Mm-hmm.
He can do the weird thing with Skullcrack too.
Ooh, yes. So I did get to witness Hartley fall victim to that.
He told me about
during
this.
One of our team matches where his opponent swung in with Swiftspear. Harley had the Etch Champion, declared blocks, and the opponent Skullcracked.
Yep, and that. So, in case someone listening doesn't exactly know how that works, protection from a color or protection from any one source prevents the damage. And since Skullcrack says damage cannot be prevented this turn, the protection does not stop any damage from happening.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, got 2 Etch Champions. So Justin is also not going to be swinging in. He does have the Harsh Mentor.
He has the Harsh Mentor, but at this point he's getting hit for 6 a turn, basically unblockable.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Ravager seems not great right here.
Ravager's not great, but that cranial plating is going to do some work.
Yeah. Plating's fine. I'm a little surprised.
To not just see
Harley could have just tapped the Signal Pest and the Springleaf Drum to equip the plating to the 1 Etch Champion.
I almost like, or even if you want to hold up more blockers, just...
Well, he still gets to keep the same number of blockers back with just
no,
the 1 Etch Champion.
I'm saying if he doesn't necessarily have to play the Arcbound Ravager, in my opinion. Like, he could just tap mana to play the I think that's just kind of unnecessary. But, anyways, going to sideboards, like you already mentioned, Justin gets access to the Master Smithereens, as well as definitely the one Electric Trickery. And
well, let me ask this. What normally comes out from Affinity in this matchup?
Alright, so definitely the Steel Overseers. They're just so overwhelmingly medium here.
Mhm.
Beyond that, you can cut down on some of your zero drops, but you really have to determine what all you want to bring in. And from the sideboard of Harley, there's not a ton that I actually want to bring in. The stubborn nows feel fine, and as weird as it may be with how this red deck is, and I'd have to play this matchup more. You may even have an argument for bringing in some like Thoughtseize or Whip Flare. Thoughtseize because you're not getting raced, but there are cards that are impactful like Smash Smithereens that you care about taking. Stubborn Now you definitely bring in, and I don't think that there's enough room to take out anything more than Steel Overseers at the maximum. I'm just not positive what gets brought in from Harley's side, mostly just because of unfamiliarity of how this matchup functions.
I kind of like the Whip Flare because it deals with a majority of Justin's creatures.
Yep.
Like the only ones it doesn't matter with is Hazoret and Bomat Courier.
Okay, so actually, yeah, bring in the Whip Flare definitely because I just completely forgot the Harshman Dwarves in this deck when talking. So probably bring in the two Summer Now, the one Whip Flare, and then beyond that, you might just even keep in one Steel Overseer because there's nothing that's amazing as far as options go. So that's probably our sideboard there.
For Justin, I think we take out probably most of the Molten Rains. I don't think they're going to do too much.
No, they're too slow.
I think Hazoret's also too slow.
So
I could see pulling those out.
And he has how many Hazarets? Is it the
Two?
So pulling out the two Hazarets and the some number of Molten Rains.
So you can put in the 3 smashes, and you either put in all 3 Skullcracks because it helps you against the Etch Champions, or you could do 2 Skullcrack and 1 Electrickery. Yep. That way you can pick off something that's holding a Cranial Plating.
Yeah.
Or maybe overload it to deal with a few creatures that he has on the board.
Okay. So I'm going to see how this goes.
He did bring in the Electrickery. That's a front card in his hand. That deals with a Signal Pest pretty well.
Deals with Signal Pest exceedingly well.
Yeah, he's gonna see what else Harley's gonna deploy first. Doesn't deal with the Ornithopter very well.
No. And I think that given how it looks Justin's hand is lining up, he is probably just gonna play it real patient on this Electrickery. He's probably gonna pop off now.
Yes. Now is good. Now before Harley gets a chance to untap and actually utilize his Steel Overseer.
Now, I'm guessing, but I'm not positive here, because I could be wrong in how it's sideboarding. I think this is probably Harley's one Steel Overseer post board.
So it looks like Justin wants to wait
to get one more damage in.
To get one more damage with Monastery Swiftsphere. He's got an Electrickery now before combat. I don't like that. He's being greedy here.
That's way too greedy.
Because the Ornithopters are still going to get counters.
The Ornithopters still get the counters. And even if he didn't have the Master of Ethereum, so he goes, activate the Steel Overseer, and you go in response to Electricity, in response he activates both of his Ink Moth next eye, and they get pumped. And it's just like, I don't like waiting.
Yeah. And now everything's just too big. Like, his Electricity isn't going to do anything.
Yeah.
If he tries to do it in response, Harley goes ahead and activates Steel Overseer, and it gets counters. So if he doesn't, well, Master of Ethereum pumped everything.
Yeah. There are very few times where letting someone untap with a Steel Overseer is ever correct.
Yeah.
He also... Okay, he's just scooping up. Yeah, like, this game's over.
He realized the mistake that he made.
Yeah. Alright, so that's the final match of the night here. Got to bring a little bit of some interesting decks in. We got to have internet famous Bomat guy Justin in for his little deck that did okay at the Open. And in general, I think it was a pretty interesting night. A little bit better than I think last week we had a few times where it like got a little not much happening, but this time I think we had pretty fun little roster going on.
Yeah, I think we had some nice interactive matchups. A few that was very difficult for us to tell ahead of time, like who was going to be able to take it.
Yeah.
We saw a few matchups where things just kind of turned around.
Yeah, we got definitely to be some good comebacks. So thanks everyone who came in this week, and like we've mentioned a few times throughout the night, we are going to be showing off a little bit of Dominaria Standard next week. And hopefully that'll be a little interesting. And as well as that, we're also going to be rerunning the stream as soon as we finish up with this one, correct?
Yep. So you'll be able to catch the replay in a few.
Yep. So if you came in at the last minute and you want to watch it again, then there you go.
Yep. Don't forget to catch us here next Tuesday, 7:30, playing some new Dominaria Standard.
And
it's going to be very interesting.
It's definitely going to be some interesting things. There's definitely going to be a lot of room for fine-tuning of what you'll see because it's the first week of the new standard and everyone just kind of trying to get a feel for everything.
I'm going to guess that we might hit on 1 or 2 decks that are actually very viable. They will probably still be like 5 to 10 cards off, but in the right direction.
I think that there will be at least a few decks that are going to give a little bit of a glimpse of something to come. It won't necessarily be the finished product, but it'll be something that you probably will see more of in Standard going forward. So we hope to see you next week for that, and as always, it was great having you all get there with us.
All right, we'll catch you next week. See ya.